want to start off by giving apologies for the Vice Chancellor and the executive team. Obviously, it's a challenging time at the moment. At one time, I think the Pro Vice Chancellor Academic has been in Victoria Falls, might be back at the moment or on her way back. And the Vice Chancellor is attending the graduation at the Chinhoyi University of Technology, and obviously could not make it because of the double appointment and booking. So the graduations were changed over time for certain reasons, and this is what happened. So he sends his apologies, and they wanted to be with us. I suppose the executive is not here, so in his speech that I'm reading on his behalf, I would say that all the executive management team of the UZ in absentia, any Minister of Higher Education and Technology officials here present, captains of industry, the Dean and Deputy Dean of Engineering, the Engineering Council of Zimbabwe, Chief Executive, Engineer Dr. Bafemoyo, the Chief Executive Officer of the Zimbabwe Institution of Engineers, Engineer Dr. Deara, Faculty of Engineering lecturers, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. It's a good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, I'm glad you're there. I think there have been growing perceptions from stakeholders that the quality of engineering graduates that we are churning out as universities are not appropriate for industrial needs. Obviously, a lot of studies have been done regionally and abroad, which have revealed that as a region, we suffer from a persistent shortage of engineering skills. I think the recent skills audit has been quite shocking, where we are more than 60% or 63% short of skills that we need in the country. Hence, the need for nuancing our education system so that they respond to rapid changes in technology, which are happening very fast. I think in ICT, they say that, if you are absent for 3 months, when you come, then you are irrelevant in terms of knowledge of technology that exists. That's how fast it's changing. So the evidence of mismatch between skills and what is required by industry is thus reported in many quarters. This has been largely due to challenges in training programs, causing inadequacies in higher education institutions, and exposure to equipment and to new technology. Design of curricula has been based towards having lectures rather than skills development and practical exposure. There are many people who say, as students, at times you can have a whole 8 hours of classes and hardly any laboratories or practical experience. And I think that's something that can be changed and improved. I was discussing with some lawyers who were saying that maybe, our students should, as much as possible, spend time in court when the courts are in session as part of their training. So as a result, we submitted a proposal to the Royal Academy of Engineering, as UZ, in 2012 to address these challenges through enriching engineering education program. And this was successfully conducted between 2013 and 2015. And the University of Zimbabwe was grateful for this support of £140,000 from the Royal Academy of Engineering, which was utilized in many activities, including secondment of engineering academics and technicians to industry to gain more experience and exposure to more modern equipment and technology. Professional training of staff, as well as knowledge sharing workshops and conferences. So our belief is that the success of this HEP has played a major role in motivating the Royal Academy of Engineering to upscale support to the Higher Engineering Partnership for Sub-Saharan Africa, HEPSA, in order to empower institutions in Southern Africa to address engineering skills shortages and gaps. The outcome of HEP are tangible. Presence of the industrial liaison officer in the faculty is one such outcome. This has enhanced interaction between faculty and industry. However, there's still a lot of work that needs to be done in order to produce well-grounded graduate engineers that speak to the needs of industry and ultimately to our societies in the form of goods and services that transform our societies. We live at a time when government aims to end poverty in the country by making Zimbabwe an upper middle income economy by 2030. Another significant outcome of the interactions with industry was establishment of the professorial chair in mining engineering, fully and generously supported and funded by one of our industry partners, Zimplats. We have the current professorial chair recruited from the USA, who is mentoring young academics to impart relevant skills required in industry. The hope is that this initiative will be embraced by other industrial players, and ultimately we'll have more professorial chairs supported by other industrial partners. I'm also pleased to know that UZ has successfully applied for £100,000 of funding for the Higher Education Partnership for Southern Africa, HEPSA initiative that seeks to bridge the gap between higher education institutions and industries in skills development. The university is fully in support of this noble initiative, which is in line with Education 5.0, enunciated under our Ministry of Higher Education, Higher and Tertiary Education, Science and Technology Development. This includes an approach to industrialization and innovation, in addition to traditional university teaching, research, and community service. The University of Zimbabwe is cognizant of the need to produce appropriate engineering skills and handle dynamic changes in technology in this fourth industrial revolution, and even more prepare the human resources required for the digital ecosystem Industry 5.0. Obviously, we have to learn to chew before we go forward to being futuristic. And obviously, Industry 4.0 will be a challenge to realize, and new ones for developing countries, and that's our role here. The University of Zimbabwe, through the Faculty of Engineering, has formulated a strategy with main objectives of strengthening ties and bridging the gap between industry and academia, using holistic systems thinking for capacity building and sustainability through research, entrepreneurship, and innovation. The faculty has adopted 6 strategic pillars to guide it in this process, which are focused on water and sanitation, smart settlements and environment, energy and power generation, geoinformatics and surveying, production and automation, modernization and industrialization, and mineral beneficiation, exploration, extraction, and processing. So with gatherings, contributions from gatherings like what we have today, the faculty should be able to redefine its programs that it will offer to ensure consistency with the University of Zimbabwe new strategic plan, 2019 to 2025, to ensure alignment to Education 5.0 within the year 2020. The intention is to have University of Zimbabwe, including the Faculty of Engineering, introduce new and relevant degree programs that impart current and relevant knowledge and skills. Obviously, there will be upgrading. You wouldn't want the same syllabus that you had 30 years ago. And in some cases, maybe deciding to discontinue certain programs and start new programs. And in this respect, I would like to acknowledge the presence of our Pro-Vice Chancellor, Academic Affairs, Professor Moyana, who has joined us. Thank you, Madam, for taking time from your very busy schedule to be with us. Obviously, she will be on your case in terms of this transformation of education as we introduce new programs. So this knowledge sharing workshop is important in bringing together industry and academia, and I hope that there are more people from industry than from academia, to discuss ways in which the gap between industry and academia can be narrowed and eventually eliminated, while at the same time fulfilling the obligations of HEPSA using the funds that were secured. It is pleasing to see support at this high level that industry is giving to this initiative, and my hope is that the knowledge that will be shared today will add value to the processes of ensuring not only the quality of engineering graduates coming from universities in Southern Africa, and especially from University of Zimbabwe, is continuously improved from an industry perspective, but that it transforms the lives of societies through innovation and industrialization. With these remarks, I wish you successful, robust, and fruitful discussions that will enhance bridging the gap between industry and academia. I also wish to congratulate the faculty for securing additional funds from the Royal Academy of Engineering to fulfill these obligations. And on that note, I declare the workshop open. I thank you. So that wasn't Professor Mbo, that was Professor Mapumo. And I see that on the program to save the MC time, I had brought my presentation, which is not conventional, but I hope will do. So my presentation, I think I've been introduced already, and obviously I've been 12 years at the University of Johannesburg in South Africa, and left the country not because I was chased away, but my heart and soul had moved back home. So keeping the empty body in South Africa for the sake of silver and gold was no longer working. I think it was Bob Marley who says, don't win the world and lose your soul. And I hope I'm trying to find that soul. So I'm supposed to make a presentation on the UZ vision for building strategic partnership for Vision 2030, as maybe focus that this workshop is looking at. What is strategic partnerships? I think that's a question that is challenging. And I think the idea is that the university or universities in Zimbabwe need to look at synergies with partners in industry, partners in government, NGOs, and all over, so that they deliver value to this. So in other words, it's not a situation of begging, but having partners that are long-term and what we call marriages that have marriage certificates exemplified through memorandum of agreement, with the knowledge that in that kind of partnership, the laws indicate that there is no divorce. So you get a marriage certificate with your partners, but no divorce certificates will ever be issued. So they are long-term and forever. That's what we call strategic partnerships. And in terms of industrialization as a focus, a post has been created, strategic partnerships and industrialization. We are saying, what is industrialization? Obviously, it's the use of technology on a mass scale. It's not a situation where you say, I have done this app and I've done this thing and I use it within the school and then I have done industrialization. So you're looking at wide-scale application that even penetrates and permeates the rural areas in terms of applications of technology. That would be one definition. But also the importance of reindustrialization. So if you have lost industrial capacity, some people say, or they say, don't reinvent the wheel. Some say they want to reinvent the wheel. The argument is to say, if you spend $10 million to produce your own unique wheel, which Mitsubishi and Toyota and other companies will refuse to use, you would have done an exercise that is not industrialization. But if you have manufacturing plants that are assembling cars, and you make sure that 5% is local content, whether it's tires, it's exhaust, it's whatever, then you have industrialized to the extent that you can produce 100,000 cars per year that you assemble locally. So I think we need to nuance that and say reindustrialization is also very important in that. So it's not a matter of cutting edge technology. There are situations, and I want to qualify that, where you get support from elsewhere to divert your mind from the problems obtaining on the ground. What the farmer in Murambinda, the farmer in Cholocho, in Dotito, the people living in the rural areas look to you as solving their problems industrially or in terms of technology, and focus on current state of the art that will never achieve any economic benefits to those people. So one has to really nuance and say what kind of research, what kind of innovation, and to what end. And I think if we approach it that way, that would make a difference in terms of the country's development and the journey towards achieving objectives of 2030. The other question is, who will do these things for us? That's the good news. The good news is that we are on our own. It is us who will have to do these things for us. It is us who will have to own the companies. It is us who will have to employ others. Because you can't just be educated so that you can be employed. Who will create that employment? Who will employ you? Who will own your place of employment? One can even say that, or ask a question, are we the people that we are waiting for? In essence, I would say we are. We are the people that we are waiting for. No one else is going to come and sort our problems as Zimbabwe. I mean, they say in our language, "Hakuna inofurira." Basically, it means that even if you have two cows from the same mother, none will ever fit for the other. It's physically impossible. If you are brothers or sisters in a family, there is no way you are going to send your brother or sister to a better school when you cannot send your own child to such a school. You can only do that when you are doing that for your child already. So if you as relatives cannot do such things for each other and prefer to do for own and own children. What more about countries? There's no way that the United States and UK or China will come and do for us what's best for us. It is only us who can do what's best for us. And I think this calls to a need for a mindset change, where you're looking at changing the people's mind, looking at education and decolonizing our thought process and our education. And that's, English. I don't know what it means, but basically what it means, or what I think it means, is that we need to unlearn what we learned. I was talking to some CEOs, top-notch in South Africa, earning more than 2 million rand per year. And as we went into depth into their approach, they have been taught by multinationals to maximize the bottom line. And that maximization is not the bottom line for the bottom line of South Africa, but of the corporate. So the corporate then becomes the god of your work. And then when you say, does that take South Africa forward? Does that benefit, the millions and millions of people in South African rural areas? It doesn't. So you need somebody who will make sure that whatever happens will benefit those people. I think it also begs the question, what is our purpose in life? What were we created for? Were we created to be unequal to others? To show off that I have access to the US dollars? And I want to, I'm not going to say. Or to make a difference? And I think that's a personal question that everyone has to ask themselves, to say, what is my purpose? What is my culture? Who am I? What is being a human being or being a being? And I remember when I was in Japan, I was asked for Zimbabwean music, and I had 3 cassettes, and I was happily pulling out what I thought would impress the Japanese people. And then Hondo Makandi or Dakaiona was really on loudspeaker. And then after dancing and dancing, the Japanese came back to me and said, that music is nice. I said, yeah. And says, it sounded a bit like Bob Marley. So the Japanese are very polite, and they can insult you very politely. So I immediately picked that this is an insult. So I had to get the other cassette of Mbira music, and then after sweating, they said, this is new. I like this one. So if you deny yourself as a human being, if you anglicize yourself internally, Americanize yourself internally, are you going to be you? Are you going to be successful as you? Are you going to be successful as a person and as a country? And these are the questions that you ask yourself, and that's what strategic partnership and industrialization is all about. It's about developing a development path that defines who we are, like the Asians have done successfully. So we need the art of unlearning what we learned that we think prohibits ourselves from development, from being ourselves. And that's what I think is decolonization of education. Yeah. To get that big job, to get that big house, to own that big car, to differentiate myself. I remember when we were young, children from brothers and sisters, nieces, nephews, and cousins, we could share the same blanket, share food from the same plate, and do things together. So there's that aspect of our culture which was good. Maybe not all of it was good, but we need to redefine our own culture, because culture is dynamic, but let it not be dynamic towards being Japanese or Chinese or European. Let it be dynamic towards being you and African and Zimbabwean. So I think that's just a bit of philosophy. Coming on to innovation and industrialization, many people mystify innovation. And when you go to the simple English dictionary, they say it's change, it's alteration, it's revolution, it can be upheaval, it can be transformation, it can be metamorphosis, reorganization, restructuring, rearrangement, recasting, remodeling, renovation, restyling, variation. So we're not saying come up with the current state of the technology. We're saying make technology work. If you can make existing technology work for you, then you have done well. There are so many patents that exist. We know what problems and solutions we are doing, and a lot of our students, because we don't read patents as academics, will give you a nice design project that is a plagiarized patent, and you think, oh, they've done well. But patents, you're allowed to replicate it as long as you are not industrializing it. As you replicate it, learn from it, adapt it, improve it, whatever, and try to then come up with your own patent, or at least popularize that technology so that it's widespread and industrialized within the country. So a new method, a new idea, product, or a new service is innovation. So broaden your definition of innovation and industrialization so that you know what you can make it a success. So industrialization in the dictionary also is defined as the development of industries in a country or region on a wide scale. Full stop. You are drilling boreholes. If you do it on a wide scale and drill 1 million boreholes countrywide, you have industrialized. If you add drip irrigation to that, and you add new drip irrigation technology, even if it means that you take a copper pipe and puncture it in places so that you drip irrigate and do something new with new material, you have innovated and industrialized if you've done it countrywide. If those 1 million boreholes are drip irrigating, then you are then competing a bit with Israel in terms of application of technology in agriculture and production and higher productivity. So I'm just saying industrialization is something on a wide scale, and that's maybe where the vision of Zimbabwe has to be. And obviously it's us, we have to do something for our country as engineers. I've always challenged engineers and said China is going to be the biggest economy in the world because scientists and engineers are politicians. The last 2 or 3 presidents of China have been engineers. I'm not saying engineer exclusive, but that if engineers and scientists and technologists are completely missing from the political equation, which is the case in most of Africa, then I think we cannot learn much from China in terms of technology development. They've managed to increase GDP per capita from about $100 per person or per capita in 1978 to $10,000 today. Yeah. Where is Zimbabwe? Where is South Africa? With Africa. So I think let's look at that and open our minds to that. In terms of technology transfer or technology, one Japanese scientist, I did some bit of technology transfer research, has proposed technology transfer models that start with T1 to T5, where T1 is operation, T2 maintenance, T3 incremental or minor improvement, T4 major design change, T5 domestic manufacturing, where you are saying all components are localized, you now have mastered the technology, you can produce your own bicycle, you can produce your own wheelbarrow. You can produce your own motorbike. You know, you can produce your own tractor. So what they're saying is that if you can't operate it, you haven't transferred technology. If your driver is so bad that they want to fly over the cliff with your new truck, then there's no transfer of technology there. So you have to train them. And I think within the German system and other systems, you have what they specialize as training for technique, where even a salesperson is trained. The conductor is trained. Whatever trade, there's a certificate and a qualification attached to it, and one is, doing things properly. I remember when I've done some tiling a bit, and when I was German, I was working with the tiler. The precision they do, it's like if you tile a kilometer, it will be a straight line in terms of that gap between tiles all the way to the end of a kilometer. That's technique. That's training. I don't want to go into the rooms and see how the tiles are. One is a bit higher than the other, and then if you try to trace a straight line throughout the room, you end up, going like. So again, it's just emphasizing the issue of operation, maintenance. Obviously, if you don't maintain your car, you're lucky if it lasts, 50,000 kilometers without being a write-off. So all those technology and skills need to come in until you can actually develop your own technology. Some say it's roundabout. Yes, let it be. If it means that you're adding 5% or 10% local added value to manufacturing buses, by the time you're 30%, you're going there. Yeah, as opposed to focusing on one thing and only one thing and specializing in that. Obviously, you need resources, materials, machinery, management, and markets, and so forth around that. So looking at universities in future, where we have funded or supervised projects, I think recently we had an excitement where we're trying to augment water from the used farm to supply the campus. And Faculty of Engineering came up with this innovative idea of saying our students do practical training on surveying. They always survey the university campus. I think it has been surveyed, I don't know, maybe 100 times. And then they decide to survey the pathway of bringing water from the farm 10 kilometers all the way to here. So that project for the students and the water pipe eventually, when it is there and running, 20 years later they will come and say, I did this. And it's a skill imparted. So I think that's the kind of education we're looking at, to say we want education that comes with meaning and with practical experience. I think it's from being techno-scientists to engineers, from techno-literates to techno-doers, techno-skills. And that's where we need to be operating in, so that we have students that can catch up. There are a lot of activities that one can propose there, and a number of things. But for sake of time, I don't want to go into all of them. I can just indicate that a Faculty of Engineering in the USA is the first in the world that has been allowed to train medical doctors for medical degree programs. So you have situations where robots are assisting in doing surgery. You have situations where, heart valves are being synthesized from materials. And in some cases, medicine is moved to that direction. Obviously, it's high end, but we have to prepare our mindsets to say interdisciplinarity is the future. It's no longer I'm an engineer, I'm a doctor, and maybe it's not one of the technologies that we would go for, but we must always know that interdisciplinary approaches are the future. Obviously, as a university, we would look at ranking, so that has to be taken into education. We are planning to focus on agriculture in practice, as well as developing an agro-processing industry. Whenever you're developing robots, they should not be more intelligent than human beings, but also maybe they should not be used for war. That's the concept of maybe Ubuntu in engineering. So I think generally I have a lot of notes maybe that I can share with your team. And I just want to say, in terms of strategic partnership going forward, we're looking at more robust, honest engagements, where we as investors want to add value to what industry is doing, and industrial partners here can help us to shape a university that they want, that can deliver in terms of those partnerships, and assist towards industrialization, but also reindustrialization, because if we are operating at 15 to 40 capacity, 15 to 40% capacity of industrial existing capacity, it means there's a gap, and that transition, the university would have a role in terms of assisting to bridge it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. For the question that he asked, are we the people Nyamba to give us the background to this project?
Thank you very much, Director of Ceremonies. I'm quite pleased to see all of you coming to share with us ideas that we have regarding improving the skills for engineering graduates. Most of you here, I think we have worked together one way or the other, so I'm not going to take much time in going through the background, but probably spend a bit more time on what we are planning, for the future. So I'm going to run through this presentation in that format, where I'll briefly talk about where we came from, what we did, and what we plan to do. Now, the Pro-Vice Chancellor made it very clear that there is a perception of the skills that are going out there not being appropriate for our needs or for our industry. Now that is very true. Most of you who were here during the period 2005 to about 2010 will know what challenges we went through. It looks like we are going back there, I'm not so sure. Now, one of the things that I encountered at that time was to receive, for example, a phone call from an engineer. I won't specify the engineer, but he was in South Africa. And he said to me, "Are you now producing engineers who cannot produce engineering drawings?" And that was indeed a problem. I shared this problem with the faculty. On a similar note, I think there were a lot of complaints that were coming from our engineers who were being employed in South Africa and failing to register with the Engineering Council of South Africa. And I think the Engineering Council of Zimbabwe, the Zimbabwe Institution of Engineers, they are pretty aware of this problem that happened. It almost became a crisis. And this is one of the reasons why it prompted us to start thinking of solutions. Now, are we producing, or were we producing engineers that were not fitting into industry, producing the skills that are required by industry? One of the problems, of course, was the lack of confidence in teaching. Mainly because the lecturers that we have now are mostly young, or sorry to say this, Engineer Murungweni, I think you know, we have geriatrics as well. We do have that problem, and then we have a gap in the middle. So those youngsters did not have much confidence in standing in front of the young, upcoming engineers, and as a result, you can lose it in the process. We also had a problem. So many of our staff, living for greener pastures. I just looked out there, there's a lot of green outside. And I think we can make our own green pastures here, instead of letting these youngsters, go abroad. There's nothing wrong in going abroad or going next door to South Africa, Namibia, and so on. In fact, one of the objectives you'll find is the mobility of engineers. So there was one problem of flight of staff. We had, staff turnover, which affected the university in delivering. With universities, we were 7 of us, University of Zimbabwe and the 3 other universities offering engineering in Zimbabwe. We also had the university from Maputo, the Polytechnic of Namibia, the University of Botswana, and we worked together with a couple of industry partners as shown on that board. And some of the activities that we went through were professional training, where we provided a platform for our engineering academics to expose themselves to new technologies. We also went through endeavors like this, where we were sharing ideas, sharing knowledge, and so on. And we also sent, that's our director of ceremonies there, on that picture. We also send our engineering academics to industry, and that was at one of the plants. She was in an overall. Yes. And of course, ultimately, all these things that we're doing them for the benefit of the students. And that's one of our labs there where we were now, imparting those skills. That's a CNC machine or demonstration that our students were going through. Now, what did we achieve during the 2-year period? The Faculty of Research Faculty of Engineering Research Agenda was developed in 2013, and this has been running from 2014 to 2018. This is where the idea of clusters that the Pro-Vice Chancellor was talking about came from. We came up with clusters, and that's the research agenda which was crafted at the Chinhoyi University of Technology. We also managed to secure, as the Pro-Vice Chancellor stated, to secure a professorial chair fully funded by Zimbabwe Platinum Mines. It was not easy, it was not an easy journey, but we eventually got there. At this point, I think some of you saw him, but I would kindly ask Jed, please, if you could stand. That's my colleague, Jed Langworth. At that time, I think it was 2011, 2012, he was the training manager for Zimplats. So I used to meet him back and forth and so on, and he would send in my ideas to the board until they eventually accepted, and we were granted the funding for a full professorial chair for mining and metallurgy. And may I take this opportunity to also introduce Professor Ichokumbu. Please, can you... We are hopeful that such initiatives will extend to other, industry partners. It is probably our vision that probably in a few years' time we'll have a professor for telecommunications, a professor for civils and construction, and so on and so forth. That's the idea. And the purpose for doing all this is to produce the human resources that industry, so dearly needs. We also funded the activities within the faculty. For example, members who attended the Congress, the ZIE Congress in Masvingo in 2013, the faculty review, curriculum review, which was held at Trotbeck Inn in Nyanga. And we continue to churn out young academics to industry to expose them, get experience, so that when they come back, they will have that confidence in teaching. These are some of the activities and achievements that we got. Now, I'm very happy to note that policymakers have also been doing quite a bit on their part. We have Pastor Maofa here with us from the Ministry of Higher and Tertiary Education. He will probably tell you more about the interventions that they are making. The university, there are several interventions that they have also made. We have developed as a faculty a new curriculum. I would just point out one aspect of that new curriculum. It is the introduction of the one-year industrial attachment for students. Now that is important. We are here as academics, we are here as industry, captains of industry. We need to find a way to make this work. We need to get our students to be exposed so that when they graduate, they become productive as soon as they join your companies. And that introduction of industrial attachment can be problematic if there are no places to attach the students. So it is important for us to gather together, craft ways to make these things work. It is important to have industrial attachment for our students. We now have an industrial liaison, full-time industrial liaison office within the faculty. This is important to create the link between industry and university. And that has also facilitated the secondment of academics, the attachment of students. Now we have Education 5.0. We have the new university strategic plan. And we need to tie in and align ourselves with the thrusts that are within the new strategic plan. Also important to note that the university, we are very grateful to note that the university has appointed the Pro-Vice Chancellor in charge of strategic partnerships and industrialization, as well as an executive director in charge of research and innovation. Now these are key positions, strategic positions for us to fulfill the objectives of keeping industry and academia closer together. The government has probably, Pastor Maofa will outline, has established innovation hubs within the university. Are we going to keep these as white elephants? Are we going to make use of them? Let's take advantage of what the government has done. It has created these platforms for us to make use of. And I think industrial and science parks are on the way. This will create a platform for incubation of our ideas that will come into fruition and probably get commercialization. Now, there's been a lot of changes in technology, and those changes have been very fast. Can we cope? These changes have been very fast. Most of you are familiar with the Industrial Revolution. You all know the talk. We are in a Industry 4.0, or the fourth Industrial Revolution. The first Industrial Revolution, I'm sure you all know, was driven by steam. Yes? The steam engine. And I believe the next Industrial Revolution, digital ecosystem, from 2030 onwards, will also be driven by steam. That's my belief. But it's not the same steam that drove the first Industrial Revolution. This particular one, I believe, is no longer thermodynamic. This is now science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. There is an integrated nature that the Pro Vice Chancellor also talked about, that we cannot continue to work in isolation. Now we have a faculty of engineering in the US training medical doctors. That is the integration that we are looking at. And we need to talk about those things. Are we able to cope? Are we able to, when the opportunities come, are we able to deal with them? We need to create smart factories using that integrated approach. And there is a lot of talk about the use of robots. Prof. Mbowa talked about this. That's the future. These are the dynamic trends in technology, robots and artificial intelligence. But is it artificial intelligence or it's IA? I want to look at it in a slightly different way. Is it AI or IA? Artificial intelligence, we all know that's what we have been talking about. And this is what robots and machine learning has been about. But I prefer to look at it as amplifying our intelligence. That's what probably Professor Mtambara Professor Mbowa was referring to about Professor Mtambara, Ubuntu. We want to create robots, yes, but do we want to create robots that are clever than us? No, let's amplify our intelligence instead. Now, this particular project has moved from 2012, 2013 in different dimensions. The purpose of our meeting today is to look at what we are going to do about it in the future. So I want to look at the new thrust that we have. I've talked about secondments for the triple EP, industrial attachments, and so on. The new focus that we are going to be looking at is to strengthen those ties that we have between academia and industry. So we want to bridge the gap between the two, bring them closer so that, if possible, make them one and the same thing. And this is going to be done through innovations, industrialization, using a systems thinking approach. I'm not going to go through the idea or philosophy behind systems thinking, but suffice to mention that it is a process of reductionism, where you start from a certain point and you look at all the various factors and elements that constitute a system, and then start and split all those until you develop a holistic approach or solution to whatever problem that you might be having. And ultimately, that is going to be done to achieve entrepreneurship and commercialization of some of the ideas that we might have. Now, I'm pleased, Prof mentioned it. It's only a couple of weeks, in fact, a couple of days ago, that my team and I worked on a proposal that we submitted to the Royal Academy of Engineering, and I'm very pleased to inform you all that we have secured £100,000. That was as the It was a lot of hard work. Allow me to introduce my team. I think they need to be acknowledged for the work, that they put in. We have Engineer Chikuku. I'll start. Engineer Chikuku, please remain standing. He was one of our team members from mechanical. He is now a fully in gun charts. And that's what he worked on, tirelessly throughout. Then we had Professor Ichoku. Professor Ichoku, I've already introduced him. He was working with Mr. Bezo, who is these are now our experts in budgeting, producing the budget. So they worked as a team of two to produce that budget that was eventually accepted. And then we had the Engineer Mabongo, our industrial liaison officer. And we had the only female in the committee, Engineer Chiroza. Thank you very much, Engineer Chiroza and Engineer Mabongo. Worked on the log frame. They are now experts in log frame, design. So if you need help there, and of course our secretariat, unfortunately I think they are both outside. And of course the results are there for us to see. Thank you so much. You can take a seat. So we secured £100,000, and this is going to run from about a week from now until October 2021. And they liked our thinking that we have been given the option to apply for an additional 100,000 at the end of the first year. So this amount is actually scalable to £200,000. And I hope my team will be able to work to achieve that aspect. Now, what is it that we want to achieve with this funding that we have secured? Firstly, it has always been the dream. We want to establish a network. There are many reasons why we want to do this. I don't want to go into the detail, but we want to introduce a Southern African Engineering Education Network, which is going to carry out a lot of the activities, some that we have done in the past and some that are going to come. So that's the first thing. We have a number of universities that we have partnered with. We are planning to create centers of excellence in order to facilitate professional training in various areas, as well as sharing resources. If we have experts in energy at UZ or even equipment, what's the point of duplicating it at Chinhoyi? Let's share that equipment. Let's share that expertise. So we want to create and link up with our partners within the region to create centers of excellence so that we can exchange stuff. We will continue with the model for secondment of academics to industry in order to expose them to modern technologies so that we don't, so that we produce round pegs to fit into round holes. I'm sure you understand what I mean. And we will also use this opportunity to monitor, follow up our students and monitor them whilst they are on industrial attachment. The last two, we are planning to set up a regional biennial conference that will feed into a regional journal for engineering, science and technology. I think those are key, for academia, And those are some of the key result areas that are expected of us within this project. Now, whom are we partnering with? We are continuing with the concept of hub and spoke. The University of Zimbabwe has just won the bid and has been granted 100,000 to continue as a hub within Southern Africa. So it will remain so. And for this particular application, I'm happy, and they are all represented here. The partners that we made this application with are all here, and I'm really happy, for giving you a very difficult time, wanting to dominate until we put the application together. Locally, we are partnering with Saharan Institute of Technology. Dr. Muredzi didn't make it. Who is the representative here? Saharan Institute of Technology. I think they will probably join us later. Chinhoyi University of Technology, I think, yes. Chinhoyi University of Technology are here, are represented. We have Air Commodore, Dr. Engineer. Sorry for the program says Mr. Kamsoko. It's Air Commodore, Dr. Engineer Kamsoko there, representing the Zimbabwe National Defense University. He is the dean. And National University of Science and Technology, unfortunately, they are not with us. Logistically, it was a bit difficult to bring them, for this workshop today. So those are our local partners, higher education institution partners. And then regionally, we have partnered with Universidade Eduardo Mondlane. This was our, partner in the previous one. So they have come on board. We also have my former university, University of Johannesburg in South Africa. They also have come on board. They are part of this application. And we have the Namibia University of Science and Technology, which used to be Polytechnic of Namibia. Now it's NAST. Those are our regional partners. And lastly, our UK partner is the University of Leicester in the United Kingdom. So that's 8 of us there, I think. Those are the institutions of higher learning that are basically going to be the founding members for the Southern Africa Engineering Education Network. Okay? Now, these are higher education institutions. We want to work with other partners, other key stakeholders to make it a holistic or systems thinking approach. And these other stakeholders, to start with, we have received tremendous support for this initiative from the government of Zimbabwe. I've been dealing with Pastor Mahofa. I'm happy that he's here representing the ministry. We have the Zimbabwe Institution of Engineers representing the professional bodies. We have the Postal Telecommunication and Regulatory Authority of Zimbabwe, POTRAS. They have also partnered with us in this application. That's a regulatory body. And we also have the Engineering Council of Zimbabwe. Sorry, just before that one. There's also the Engineering Council of Zimbabwe as a regulatory body. Dr. Rafemoyo representing them here. And from our industry sector, we partnered with the Chamber of Mines. Chamber of Mines, have they come? Yes, thank you very much. Okay, Chamber of Mines are here representing all the mining houses in Zimbabwe. We're very happy for the coming on board for the Chamber of Mines. We couldn't bring in individual mining houses, so we had to zero in on the chamber. On the construction, civil engineering construction sector, we have Masimba Holdings. Unfortunately, Mr. Malunga could not be here with us, but I'm glad Engineer Murungweni, who represent the construction sector, civil construction sector today. Telecommunications, we have Econet. Econet, I haven't seen. Yes, thank you very much. Econet are here. They have also partnered with us. Mr. Sibanda, PPC, did he make it? I couldn't see you there. Thank you very much and welcome. Mr. Sibanda was my classmate back in the 80s. Okay, thank you. So this is the partnership, clustered as it may appear. But these are the people who have agreed, who have bought into our, our ideals, and they think what we are talking about makes sense. That these are the people, we, as a network, our plan is to make this and grow it bigger than this. We want Southern Africa Engineering Education Network to be bigger, and there are already people on standby who couldn't meet the deadline that I had requested. I can already mention University of Zambia are on board, University of Botswana are on board. All these people are already, on board. Unfortunately, they couldn't get the documents on time for our deadline for application. Sorry, I had forgotten that we also have SINET in renewable energy. Unfortunately, they couldn't make it. These are involved in solar energy implementations, monitoring and evaluation. We had hoped Engineer Manua would be here to represent this sector, but I haven't seen him. I'm also very happy to mention that SINET is pledged to this project, have pledged $10,000 US in equipment. I think they deserve the contract. Right. Now, why are we gathered here? These are the questions that we are going to ask. We have people from different sectors. We are gathered here to answer the following questions. The first one is, what are universities doing to produce the graduates that industry needs? And what contributions are being made by, or rather, what interventions are policymakers such as the government, the university, doing to create enabling environments for this to happen? And what contributions are we getting from industry to assist us in academia to produce the much needed human resources in order for us to produce round pegs to fit into round holes? What role can professional bodies play in narrowing the gap between industry and academia? And what role can regulatory bodies play in crafting and coming up with what I would call a regional qualification framework, so that we can allow engineers graduating from UZ can easily move on to Botswana, move on to South Africa. I've already mentioned the problems we encountered in 2005 where some of our graduates were not being accepted by the Engineering Council of South Africa, and that is a problem. So what can we do as regulatory bodies to create a regional qualification framework? How can we motivate engineering academics to promote their ideas, their innovations, so that they can be commercialized? The government has already done something, an innovation hub for incubation facilities. An innovation hub for incubating ideas has already been created. What lessons? We also have Professor Kumbulani Mpofu, an alumni of the University of Zimbabwe, from Tshwane University of Technology in Pretoria. He's here with us. What lessons can we learn from semi-industrialized countries like South Africa? And that's what we are also going to hear from there. So, basically this is why we are here. And I think having mentioned so many people from so many sectors, our problems can easily be solved. Together we can. Together we can. We can produce and match the skills that our industry needs. We can provide solutions to our perennial challenges such as water shortages, power shortages. We actually experienced the problem just now. We can solve together we can. We can motivate our young engineers and academics to realize their potential. For the digital ecosystem coming in Industrial Revolution 5.0, we can team up and produce sustainable and competitive networks to provide these global solutions. Yes, we can. We can provide platforms to promote innovations. We can produce scholarly publications to compete on the global arena. We can inculcate a culture of having the right attitude. Let us not be crybabies all the time. We can do it. Together we can. We can reduce the flight of staff from our country to other countries. Look outside, there is green. We can make it green. We can. We can, our industry can provide access to modern equipment and technology. Get that access by our academics. We produce the human resources that you need to drive the industry to be productive. Yes, we can. Let it be, what can I do for my country rather than what can my country do for you? Yes, we can. And we are here as different people from different areas. The more we are, the merrier. We will, yes, we can. And we will be able to produce even the most difficult of solutions. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. Let's work together. Industry needs us. Academia needs industry. Yes, we can. Ladies and gentlemen, fellow engineers, I want to thank you very much for listening to my presentation. That picture you see there, some of you are there. That was just outside there. Thank you very much.
Yes, we can. Thank you very much. We did talk about the program that sent young lecturers to the industry, and as you noticed there, I was one of the beneficiaries there. I really like the fact that he did not use the word inexperienced, but young. I'm still young. We have $100,000. I hope to benefit again. Okay, I'm sure most of us here are familiar with Google Scholar. Once you go to Google Scholar, you see a statement, stand on the shoulders of giants. That's exactly how I feel today. We have Engineer Murubeni. He said he's a retired engineer but not tired. I've worked with him on a number of projects. Professor Mbowa talked about his PhD graduates. I'm one of them. We have Professor Kumbulani Mpofu. my former classmate and coming back here as a professor. And we've talked about Royal Academy and how it has benefited, well, I'm one of the beneficiaries, and it has benefited a number of people. So this is a real deal. We really can, as Dr. Nyema said. All we need to do is to work together. We're now just going to break a bit.
Everyone, thank you so much. I was wondering why 10 minutes, because I can do 2 hours. So I'll try my best to be within the 10 minutes. Right, my subject for this presentation is entitled Building Partnerships and Training of Graduates for the Telecommunications Sector. You realize that partnership from a telecoms perspective between industry and academia is actually one of the major components for an innovative society. From an Econet perspective, I know most of you would say Econet is innovative, is it? Right, but we are looking towards moving that innovativeness from being just cumulative innovations to transformative innovations, where we actually transform the whole nation, right? And what we have realized is that academia is the brains, definitely, right? And also academia is the experimental culture, whereas industry, what lacks in industry is time, but the facilities. You realize that because we have to meet a lot of targets, we have to chase, we have to be ahead of competition, we really don't have time to sit down and be creative. At times, we just go for the simple solutions, things that are already there, things that are already developed. I can actually tell you that at Econet, for example, in my office, I host not less than 5 foreign investors or 5 foreign solution developers every week. You know, so it's like a day full of meetings with people from outside Zimbabwe who are coming to sell their solutions. And at times you sit back and say, some of these solutions, they don't look that complex. You know, there are things that can actually be developed internally inside Zimbabwe itself. But what lacks is that collaboration between academia and what? And industry. Now, for Econet, these are some of the things that we have been doing over the past years. For instance, we run an industry exposure program where we take students, undergraduate students, for attachment. And normally this runs for 1 year. We're actually very excited. I was excited when either the Pro-Vice Chancellor or Dr. Nyemba was saying that you are now introducing a 1-year industrial attachment program. We've always been worried about University of Zimbabwe, you know, because we run industrial attachment for NAST, we run industrial attachment for even the Middle State University, but, you know, we've always been saying, where is University of Zimbabwe? But I'm quite excited that you guys are now coming on board. We have that program, which lasts for about 1 year, right? And then we also run a graduate training program for the graduates. And normally for Econet, it takes 2.5 years. And what I can tell you is that for all the cycles that we have run graduate training, all the candidates, all the people who have gone in through our graduate training program, we've actually absorbed, you know, to become permanent employees. And, you know, and what excites is that sometimes some of them don't even last the 2.5 years. Even after just 1 year, the person is already good enough, you know, and we absorb them into what? Into our system. So you realize that when you come to Econet, for example, I think 90% of the engineers who are at Econet, they are people who have come from the various institutions in Zimbabwe, and they've gone through our graduate training program and eventually ended up becoming the engineers who are actually running, designing the systems that you see Econet, you know, churning out into the market. We've also been doing attachment programs for lecturers. So far for University of Zimbabwe, this year alone, we've taken on board 4 lecturers. We've come into Econet while in Zimbabwe for about 2 months to 3 months, and they've actually been exposed to all the operations, to all the planning, to all the systems. which we are doing as Econet. And our expectation is that the lecturers, they came, they actually discovered or observed some gaps in our various systems and processes. And our expectation is that those guys should actually be able to come back with solutions that can help us to solve some of our pain points which we experience on a daily basis. The other initiative we are pursuing is that of equipping the student laboratories in our various institutions in the country. For example, at the moment we are actually working on a paper to donate some equipment to the University of Zimbabwe meant for the laboratory, for Faculty of Engineering, right? Faculty of, is it called Department of Electrical Engineering, isn't it? Okay. We've also done a similar program for NAST. We've also done a similar program for the Midland State University. Right. We have also started in 2019 a program where we go as Econet Engineering Department, we go to our institutions to conduct public lectures. You know, concentrate, focusing on technology, focusing on the, the roadmaps or the technology trends that we see happening in the industry. So that, we kind of share knowledge with the lecturers, we share knowledge with the students, so that they kind of understand where the technology is going to. So, for example, we did one with UZ sometime in March. Yesterday, we were actually doing another one in Bulawayo with NAST. Right? So yesterday, we were unleashing artificial intelligence. We're talking about IoT, with NAST, so that they can actually get to be aligned with what is, where we are going as an industry. Right? On innovation, what we have been doing for Econet, at the moment we are in the process of actually developing a research laboratory at our own facilities. So our expectation is that we should be able to partner with industry, with academia, because the vision for that research lab is that we are also even going to expose some of our APIs, right, to people who are creative, who are innovative, who think that they can actually be able to come in, log in, follow all the various security processes, and then be able to develop products that we can then partner with those people. So our expectation is that UZ, any other institution, can also come on board and partner us in that respect. Sometime 2 years ago, in 2017, I actually went to the University of Pretoria in South Africa. And you know what, we were actually testing some of our signal transmitting antennas at the University of South Africa to see whether they are meeting the specifications which the manufacturer had actually specified. And that was done at the University of Pretoria, and I was asking myself, is there any institution in Zimbabwe that can do the same? And you could see the state-of-art technologies that they had. That was fantastic, right? Then the other thing we are also looking at, in terms of innovation, we have also partnered with Africa University in Mutara. And what we have done with Africa University really is one of our first Internet of Things proof of concept. What we are doing with Africa University is that Africa University, they've got a farm where they are keeping some dairy cows, isn't it? Right. So what we have done there, we've gone in there, we've put in some devices that are monitoring the estrus cycle of the dairy cows and being able to report to the farm manager, to say this cow is almost reaching its estrus period, right? And then automatically the farm manager is triggered. He has got a console where he actually sees reports and actual alarms are sent. And then they can actually be able to actually take action and make sure that they don't miss that point. Because with estrus cycle, if you miss the hit point, it means you are going to take another cycle again. So you can actually easily detect the estrus point for cows and be able to take action. And what happens is you increase the productivity of the farm, isn't it? Right. We are also going into, on IoT space, we're also going into another proof of concept where we want to further that to detect the cattle health status and even cattle security, where we are actually able to tell whether a cattle has actually gone outside the ring-fenced area, and then it triggers an alarm such that people can actually take action and can actually be able to prevent cow theft, right? Right, another area where where we are looking at, I think in one of the meetings with the University of Zimbabwe earlier on this year, we said we are really much interested in partnering you when you review your syllabus, right? So that where we are actually able to input, we can input, especially the major thing we see in the telecommunications sector is that we need to make sure that the skills that you guys are producing are aligned to where the technology is going, right? You realize that the engineers that we have in industry right now, they don't have the skills that are required in the future. I can tell you with confidence, they don't have the skills that are required for the future, right? For example, when I was trained, I'm used to monolithic systems, right? But right now what we are seeing is there's convergence of telco and IT, right? Where previously, you could come into Econet, you go into the exchange, you could see the circuits, how the call is coming, how the call is routed and stuff like that, within a monolithic system, right? Now what's happening is that all those applications are going to be running on IT servers. And thus, we need the faculties of engineering and IT to actually be able to, to collaborate and design courses or programs that are in that particular direction. I think my time is up. Like I told you, I'm used to 2 hours. But where we are heading, gentlemen and ladies, is that the skills of yesterday will no longer be sufficient for what's required tomorrow. So we really need to collaborate and make sure that we design syllabus that is good for tomorrow. Thank you.
Remember, the reason why we're here is to combine ideas. Earlier on, I remember there was a statement about marriage without divorce that was talked about between the industry and the company. I'm just thinking that if we take that concept of marriage and the concept he's talking about of maybe taking the cow so that you know where they are, we bring it to actual marriages. Take some marriage mates. You are not going to go away. You are not going to get divorces. Okay, thank you so much. We are now going to invite Mr. Machkanga, the CEO, Chamber of Mines. He's also going to be talking to us about building partnerships and training graduates for the mining and metallurgical sectors.
I think for those that know me, I'm not the CEO of the Chamber. May I, at this juncture, present apologies on behalf of Mr. Isaac Kweso, the Chief Executive of the Chamber of Mines, who could not be here because of other pressing commitments. He wishes this event all the success in your deliberations. I think maybe I should actually take cue from the previous speaker and say that all that I had to say has already been said. But to take up the space, allow me to say that the developments that are going on in the world are going on at a very rapid pace. And if we don't adapt and innovate, we will be left behind. And catching up will be very difficult to do. Allow me to recognize the Pro-Vice Chancellor, Professor Mbowa, as well as the Pro-Vice Chancellor, Professor Moyana, the Dean of Engineering, Professor Makurira, and may you allow me to say all protocols observed. Now, we have noted with concern that the government, being the traditional supporter and guider of developments in the academic institutions, has over time provided limited resources to support institutions of higher learning. We also have noted that concurrently there have been increasing a request for space by industry in shaping the final product that are produced by the institutions of higher learning. And as a result of the two, there is significant scope for collaboration and partnership between academia and institutions of higher learning. In the mining industry, the Chamber of Mines of Zimbabwe has entered into a memorandum of understanding, as has been said by the previous speakers, on the establishment of the Center of Excellence in Geosciences, Mining, and Metallurgy. This memorandum of understanding was signed in September 2017, and it is devoted to advancing all aspects of mineral sciences and engineering in the fields of education and research. And I think this has been previously discussed. What we have observed is that in creating partnership, there is need to ensure that you have a common understanding of the end game that you desire to have. And it is also important that as a critical success factor, there is some form of a document that documents the nature of the relationship that you desire, as well as ensuring that there are institutions that can actually enforce the issues that have actually been agreed on. I think men in general have a tendency to forget and to have a different perspective of issues with time. And therefore such documents are very critical in ensuring that the relationship is defined in terms of what needs to be done, as well as the scope of work that needs to be done. So a governance instrument is really very important. And as I have indicated, there is, for us, in terms of our relationship with the University of Zimbabwe, a memorandum of understanding that defines the scope of work as well as the nature of that relationship. We also believe that the scope of work should cover issues that are needed or a need that is there within either industry or the market. And I think this has been said by the speaker who has come before me. So, our experience has been that there is need for capacity building within the academic institutions, and this covers issues such as learning and teaching facilities, and in this you will find that there is need for sufficient and ambient lecture and teaching facilities. And therefore the partnership between industry and the academia can result in that capacity building being done. It also deals with, it can also deal with issues of appropriate models for concept demonstration, as well as instruments for measuring and confirming various aspects of the engineering disciplines. I am a graduate of the University of Zimbabwe, but I came through the Faculty of Science, geology to be exact. And one of the issues that we battled with was the issues of vehicles for field work, as well as to transport graduates to demonstration sites, as well as other such facilities. So issues of partnership between industry and the academia can lead to capacity development, or the academia having the capacity to transport the students for technical work as well as field work. The previous speaker talked about issues of exposure of students as well as exposure for lecturers. I think this is also happening, and we will also want to ensure that that is enhanced as we move forward. So I won't belabor that point. The issue of students lagging behind technological advancement has already been said, so I won't also belabor that point. But I believe there is an opportunity that exists where the relationship between the academia and either service providers such as Econet, but in the mining industry, issues around companies that provide the latest technology in a number of applications. So the relationship between the academia and these institutions exposes both lecturers as well as students in what they will, or students will face when they get onto the job market. There's also scope, for the industry to influence the development and the design of the curriculum, because you would find that it is the industry that will absorb the graduates, and therefore the areas around how industry can influence the development of the curriculum becomes very, very important. As has also been said, academic institutions are knowledge hubs, and therefore they have the capacity or the competence to undertake research. And in the industry, there is a lot of research that is needed. For example, Zimbabwe is known to be to have a very large chrome resource. However, our chrome resource on the Great Dyke is situated in narrow chrome seams. This is a unique feature in the world, and we need to be able to unlock that potential to ensure that that chrome resource contributes to national development. Nobody will actually undertake that research but ourselves, because that feature does not exist anywhere else in the world. So we need to unlock that potential through research and development. And we hope that the academic institutions will lend its weight in terms of research into unique issues that are peculiar to Zimbabwe, and so that we can actually ensure that the natural God-given resources can contribute to economic development. There are also issues around participation of the academia in the calendar of activities of the industries, the way they've got relevance. We, in the mining industry, find that the academia seems to be missing. How do you then become relevant if you are not participating in the events that are relevant to the industry? So we hope that there will be greater participation in the calendar of activities of the industry to provide that academic dimension to issues that are being discussed and which are relevant to the industry. I see the ladies, doctor is up, so.
I'm going to talk about, first of all, my name is Dr. Bia, the CEO of the Zimbabwe Institute of Intelligence. I'm going to talk about the link, the partnership between academia and industry. And the outline of my presentation is given as follows: introduction, objectives, the current status, where we are, and action and a recommendation. Hopefully it will all fit within the 10 minutes. The partnership between industry and academia is premised on curriculum review and adaptation, accreditation of academic programs, promotion of innovation through joint research and development programs. And the key stakeholders in this instance here are ZIMCHE, the Zimbabwe Council for Higher Education, the higher education institution with engineering discipline, who are here today for engineering, industry, the Research Council of Zimbabwe. Why the Research Council? Because we have the national research priorities that are set by the Research Council of Zimbabwe. So they need to be consulted. The professional institution, that is myself here, and the regulator represented by Dr. Ben sitting over there, and communities and civil society organization. Ladies and gentlemen, you cannot do engineering without the community. For a long time, we have left them out. We have remained an ivory tower on our own, and that is not healthy. We are not addressing the problem. Now, the introduction. Strategic industry-academia research collaboration provide a number of benefits for the participants, both academia and industry. For academia, the benefits include opportunity to address challenging research questions with real-world applications. And they can also see their research have a tangible impact and gain access to new skills, data, and equipment. I think the user is a case in point. The equipment is quite obsolete. It's not a secret. Dean, I hope I'm not hurting you. On the other hand, industry can improve business performance through developing new techniques or technologies, get the opportunity to invest in research with confidence, and extend the capabilities and expertise. Investment in collaborative research and development will deliver real benefit to the country in the final analysis. People are central to any successful collaboration, and strong trusting relationship between industry and academia form the foundation for a successful collaboration. Successful relationship require mutual understanding, unity of purpose and vision for the benefit that can be derived from the collaboration. Successful relationships are fostered by creating appropriate framework for higher education institutions and industry. Objectives. Develop a framework for promoting synergies between industry and academia. Develop framework for a long-term strategy for partnership between the two, and create a platform for sharing of resources between industry and academia. If there are top-of-the-range equipment in industry, there's no need to replicate the same thing at a university, and vice versa. Promote the transfer of people and ideas between industry and academia. If you are good in industry, you should be able to come and teach at the university. If you are good in industry, in academia, you should go and do a couple of consulting hours for industry. Strengthen collaboration and networking among stakeholders in research and development and innovation between academia and industry. Align course curricula to HIE and the skills requirement. We've been talking about skills here. Of late, you have all seen the number of engineering schools in this country have multiplied by almost 10 from what they used to be not so long ago. Right now, I think I can count 8 schools of engineering in this country. Do they have a required skill to meet what is required from them in practice? Integrate entrepreneurial training into HIE curriculum. There are several academics who have never been exposed to what they have been trained for. ZIE, in partnership with UK, Royal Academy of Engineering, back in 2012, this was said by Dr. Nyemba, we have identified that. And the gentleman and the lady, whose name is Holy Right, you will call that Holy Right? Yeah. So we worked closely with them, and indeed, the two grants were secured, something you cannot measure. And that comes, to the paradox. You all know that in academia, somebody said this morning, they are eager to publish, to research, to publish, and get promotion, and go up to become a professor eventually. So if you don't publish, you perish, isn't it? But in industry, it's the other way around. If you publish, you perish. So that's a paradox there. Yeah. Now, RIOSET, that's research intellectual output, science, engineering, and technology. This is something which was introduced by the late Dr. Stan Mudange, who was the Minister of Higher Education some time back. So it all started in 2011. And NESAC is the National Engineering student award competition, which is going to take place actually on Friday next week in Gweru. They both had impactful and encouraging open and transparent collaboration between industry and academia. Rio Set is different right now as I'm speaking. The University of Great Zimbabwe, it is a bad turn to host it. But the former Minister of Higher and Tertiary Education, Jonathan Moyo, fired all of us from the board, and Rio Set has stopped. So right now as I'm speaking, there's no Rio Set in Zimbabwe. But Venesak is very much alive, and Madam Director of Ceremony is a very active member in our NESA. She will be in Gweru next Friday. Industry not impactfully represented in our research boards, in the faculties and at the university level. The last time I checked, I think UZ had only one representative on the research board. The same applied to NAS. All my years at NAS, we had only one on the research board. Now, actions. There's a need to eliminate barriers of intellectually eroded self-esteem in industry. People from industry feel intimidated when they come among us academics. We don't know it all. We might pretend, but we don't know it all. So they need, for that reason, they need to keep refreshing. That's why, this ZIE, ECZ are there for these refreshers. So that you don't get intimidated when you come to academic circles. Create a policy framework that enables industry practitioners to be meaningfully involved in academia. The thing I alluded to earlier on, to get people from industry to come and give, if not lecture, just a talk, an evening talk, for instance, to students. It would be a very good thing. We can organize that for you at ZIE. We have a good auditorium. You can come and talk to them and break the ice and get used to it. Industry, jointly or severally, to establish sustainable partnership with academia by ways of creating endowed academic chairs like the one we have in mining and metallurgy. Encourage and support the establishment of industry-sponsored development, engineering competition, grassroots engineering, where I say, CSOs must be involved in our engineering. This is where it stems from. Motivate industry to take on board more students on attachment. Well, it's unfortunate that ZimDef fund, were taken to buy bicycles, I understand. But yeah, this is where, what money should be used for. Engage relevant government departments for the training of young professionals. IP rights on innovation to be discussed and agreed on an equitable and mutually beneficial manner. It has to benefit all that are involved and contribute to. Encourage and support mobility of academics. When you are a good academic, you should not be confined between the four walls of one university. 1993, I spent the whole year teaching at UZ and at NASA, for instance. And I'm very proud of it. The whole of 1993. Provide more explicit recognition and incentive for staff who have moved between industry and academia in either direction. Higher education institutions to ensure that recruitment and promotion criteria for relevant discipline reward rather than penalize academics who have achieved excellence in collaborative activities. Enforce accreditation of university programs. I'm sure Dr. Ben will tell you more about that. Promote and support program-based learning and research. Encourage and support student membership to professional institutions. Dean, you and I will discuss this. This can be done the first day when they come to you. The form is very signed. You can put your electronic signature on all the forms in advance. So they are registered. It's a $10 payment for the whole 4-year degree year course. The 4-year degree course. Now, there's a question here, ladies and gentlemen. How is it that Israel, a tiny nation, which is today 71 years old, and there are just about 9 million, those who are in the mainland, with no natural resources, consistently produces more startup companies. By the way, Israel has more startups than the whole of Europe put together. Israel alone. One of the reasons suggested by a bestseller, this is a book, I have it electronically, those who are interested I can send to them. Startup Nation, Israel, to promote a culture that flattens hierarchy and encourages informality. We have too much formality, ladies and gentlemen. We need to break that down. I'll tell you a quick story. Some years back, the late President Shimon Peres, he took a young innovator from Israel, and they flew together all the way to Geneva, to the World Economic Forum. And it was about electric cars. And prior to that, they had invited the 5 largest automobile manufacturers in the world. Only one responded. That was Nissan and Renault, France, which is led by Carl Gosn. Those who are mechanical might know him. He hails from Brazil, from mixed Arab, Jewish parent, but he is somebody who is very erudite in this area. So he volunteered to listen to President Shimon Peres and that young innovator. It involved a lot of money, $400 million. The money had to be found, and Israel had to be made the testing ground for the batteries that will power the electric motor, automobile for Israel. So here we have difficulties to access even, Dean Makurida, last Friday was it, your graduation, or 2 Fridays ago, when I saw your interaction with students, it really warmed my heart. This is not something, very usual, ladies and gentlemen. We need to break these barriers. Get close, to the children. If you get close to them, it opens, their atmosphere and encourages, the young and unknown to shine. A whole president from Israel to take an innovator all the way to Geneva. He believed in him. And guess what? Israel is the first country with electric cars. Why all over? Therefore, ladies and gentlemen, relevant authorities should seek to reduce complexity and motivate the young electric researchers wherever possible. Every effort should be made to ensure that the interface to industry and academics seeking support for collaborative research and development is as simple as possible. I thank you.
Director of Ceremonies, who happens to be my ambuya. It's wise when you marry into good families. Let me acknowledge her, both as ambuya and also as Director of Ceremonies, and allow me to say all protocols observed. In fact, I'm cheating because I'm very poor in protocol anyway. Now, just by way of background, who is the Engineering Council of Zimbabwe, especially after my dear brother, Dr. Diarra, has just left the podium. Sometimes people ask us, who is who? Is it the left hand and the right hand? And I want to talk about his explanation that one is a barking dog, the other one is a biting dog. So he does the barking and I bite. Anyway, Engineering Council of Zimbabwe, as you probably all know, is a statutory body, was promulgated through an Act of Parliament, Engineering Council Act, Chapter 27:22 of 2008. It came into operation by statutory instrument 161 of 2010, which has since been replaced. What are its functions? among all those other functions, which is to register and administer applications and registration in terms of Part 3 of the Act, to maintain a register of members and engineering firms, to issue practicing certificates to registered persons or firms in terms of Part 4 and in accordance with Part, I think it was Part 6, to cancel and suspend such certificates for wrongdoers, to ensure that constituent bodies, which is my backing friend, have adequate procedures to enforce ethical practice and discipline among persons or firms registered under the Act. I think there are a number of them, but the most important of them all is the one which I've highlighted there, which is my topic in the 10 minutes I've given, to provide for accreditation of university and or college-based courses. But more importantly, subject to the Act, for the better exercise of its function, Council shall have power to do or cause to be done either by itself or through its agents, one of them which is ZIE, or any of the things specified in the second schedule, either absolutely or conditionally, and either solely or jointly with others. So you can see how much power some of us wield. Professional accreditation. What are we talking about? Professional accreditation is a public assurance that education programs meet international industry standards. We've been talking about the need to produce graduates fit for purpose for industry, thereby ensuring that qualifications are recognized in other countries and graduates are able to pursue international careers. All undergraduate engineering programs offered by the university faculties of engineering are supposed to be accredited by ECZ. Substantial or complete recognition should easily be accorded to our local engineering degree programs, even by other sister regulatory bodies regionally and internationally. Dr. Nyemba talked about the problems we faced a few years back when our graduates were seen as less engineers when they tried to secure registration with EXO South Africa. And we had to engage, and I'm pleased to say we seem to have found each other. But the facts they were raising were real, that some of our guys, for lack of better words, were half-baked, not because they were down, but because the facilities were not good enough at that point in time. Now, the Engineering Council of Zimbabwe is the professional engineering learned society and qualifying body for Zimbabwe. As such, it has a responsibility for setting and maintaining the professional and technical standards of its members. To this end, it evaluates the qualifications for admission to grades of professional membership, and that's the model of our professional development, where we have to accredit the program first. Then we hope that then it will meet standards for engineering education. The guy graduates and he is trained by industry, having exposure, and also meet the standard for proficiency and competence. Then professional registration then happens there. For 3 years after graduation, Dr. Diarra and others take care of them. Will just be an interested party. But once they've gone through that, they now need to practice on their own. If they were in the medical profession, that's the time they are now allowed to go alone in a theater room and open up a body. And then we just maintain and observe code of conduct and maintain, continuous professional development. The academic qualification for professional membership of the ECZ is an accredited engineering degree at honors level for professional engineers. And those who would have done, general degrees, which are 3 years or less, would be considered for technologist qualification as a member, and engineering diplomas for our technician members. The Engineering Council process of accreditation in such programs is called professional accreditation. Now, essentially, the Engineering Council is concerned with the standards and quality of individual engineering degree and diploma for technicians. Consequently, it is the individual program which receives accreditation. However, the process of professional accreditation also considers the appropriate faculty in terms of its overall philosophy, objectives, and resources. That last one, resources, is one which had costed us a lot of negotiating time with our counterparts in the region because they thought our students were not exposed to the correct laboratories, etc., etc. So I hope government and those who do something about it will help. This has the advantage of taking into account the broad principles and policies of the development of engineering education in a university or college if it is a technician. Now, where are we in Zimbabwe? The ECZ takes very seriously its responsibilities with regard to the Washington Accord and to fostering, maintaining, and developing bilateral and international agreements for the mutual recognition of qualification. There's no point to have what we call is a Rolls Royce in Zimbabwe. When they go outside our borders, others look at them as a Morris Minor. This is undertaken through links with a number of international engineering initiatives which have been established to harmonize qualifications and to recognize accreditation methods and standards. Among them, the Washington Accord, Federation of Engineering Institutions of Southeast Asia, Pacific, the European Federation of National Engineering Association, FIANI, as examples. Now, the Engineering Council has established an accreditation board. These are steps we are taking. We are a fairly new organization, though engineering had been represented by ZIE all along from the 1940s. Though we are the regulator and they are a constituent body, but it's like father and son, who the father is younger than the son. So as a new kid on the block, those are the steps we have taken to ensure that within council structures, there is an accreditation board which is composed of academia, industry, and engineering practitioners or experts. A professional accreditation handbook has already been developed, and to this I must also thank our brother, Professor Mkuu, who we visited, and after 2 hours or so discussion, we tapped a lot of wisdom because he's quite an expert in that area, and we will abuse him as we progress. Accreditation template has also been developed. We are actually busy setting up accreditation panels and visiting teams. And to this as well, we are planning to visit South Africa, EXA, who are the only signatory to the Washington Accord. We want also to become one, and the way they do it, you need someone to hold you by the hand. And that's what we have to do. What else do we need to do? We need to raise funding to finance the operation of the accreditation board. Because trying to do the same from the MIGA financial resources available to ECZ is not sustainable. We are supposed to get a government grant every year. Since formation, it's nearly 10 years now. We are yet to receive the first penny into the coffers. So I'm sure we will work with other colleagues to see how best we can fundraise to empower that board because it's very important. Membership of the international recognized accreditation bodies such as the Washington Accord, etc., are those that we need to associate and join. An agreement to be established with EXA, the only signatory of the Washington Accord in Africa, or our region, to handheld ECZ towards recognition. There is need to develop regional centers of excellence and hubs for strategic critical mass accreditation development to facilitate mobility of engineers in Africa. Dr. Nyemba touched about the need for regional centers of excellence. That's the way to go. We need to do that. By working through our continental and regional bodies, the likes of Federation of African Engineering Organization, the Southern African Federation of Engineering Organization, we see that there are immense opportunities to work with world bodies like IEA, FEAPI, CAST, FIAN, World Federation of Engineering Organization, etc. Sharing non-effective models within and across sectors and nations must be achieved in sub-Saharan Africa. Now, implementation of solutions in the AU Science, Technology and Innovation Strategy, the SSA of 2024 to create the Africa we want. I think we are talking about mobility of engineers. Let me rush, I've seen my Ambuya is up on their feet. You can't stand when Ambuya is also on their feet. We need to collaborate in the harmonization of appropriate engineering standards to enhance advancement of knowledge in critical areas required for Africa's sustainable development. People talked before me about the need to change, and I just thought when I was sitting there, I added this slide. This is with Charles Darwin. It is not the strongest of the species that survive, nor the most intelligent, but the one most responsive to change. So need no further emphasis. We just have to change and change for the better. I will sit down by, saying that African profit. I like it so much, I've repeated it over and over again. If you want to go fast, oh, I've been shut out. Anyway, it says, if you want to go fast, don't waste time, go alone. But if you want to go far, we have to go with others. In fact, somebody was talking about the more the merrier. In fact, that journey will be much merrymaking because you'll have others to talk to. So as Zimbabwe, we can't go it alone. We need to go along with others. I thank you.
May I start by saying all protocol observed, and thank you again for the program organizers for inviting me to join you at this very important session and platform that brings two partners that historically have not worked well together, but you seek to correct things. My colleague is trying to set up and bring up my presentation. Okay, so while he's working on that, no, that's not the one. The country. There are so many difficulties that we're going through, and when you look at a number of people. Do you need my help, sir?
Yes.
They are apparent. But what we also realize is that we have a role to play as institutions of higher learning and as industry. So I want to talk to you about a few issues. And these issues, I would first talk to you about the challenges, why we haven't worked so well together, and I will try to offer my understanding of what we can do going forward to close this gap that has existed for so long. Then I will conclude and sit down. So when you look at certain people in the world, influential people, they have all acknowledged that education plays an important role. And education plays an important role in bringing out the dreams that are within us, and it also plays an important role in solving or making this world a better place to live in. So we all know that we can't quite describe Zim as the better place to live in now. So which then offers opportunities for us to intervene and do something different. It is widely held that knowledge, skills, and resourcefulness of people are critical to sustain development of a nation. And these are also key for the economic activities and upgrading the social activities of a nation. Science and technology, which is our focus today, has unquestionable significance in today's society. If we look at the way that most of us came here, we were writing on platforms of technology. The way we talk, connect, and even the presentation, it all says engineering in the past has played a role to enable and make certain things easier and more proficient. But then the question is, going forward, what more can we do? And therefore, the engineering profession is more relevant today than in the past. Education of engineers, which we need to support as industry. We need to bring about interventions so that we can enhance the effectiveness of the products that come out of engineering. Why then have things not worked so well in the past? There has been challenges in bringing up academia and the industry together, and a number of speakers before me did share their views. We have failed to have productive discussions, and we have failed to identify opportunities and together work to exploit those opportunities for the mutual benefit. In a way, there has been a description of deficiencies, one party to the other, and which doesn't take us forward. Academia and industry are two separate worlds, both with different goals and different mindsets, and I think this is at the core of the problem. Yet, depending on each other, yet they depend on each other. Despite the scenario that I've said above, the harsh reality is that we need to work together for the common good. If we don't collaborate rather, universities will continue to churn out students that are regarded by industry as not fully equipped. They won't be able to be effective when they come into industry. They won't be able to deliver. Not because they don't have the capacity, but because the capacity has not been fully developed for them to express it. Students will continue to struggle to adapt to the fast-changing world. Students will continue to struggle to innovate. That's on one side. If we don't collaborate effectively, that's what's going to continue to happen. On the other hand, industry will continue to suffer. You know so well through statistics that many industries are closing down. And through inefficient operations, industry is bleeding. Bleeding badly. Just as well the program changed, and I speak before one of my main customers, the construction industry. They always complain that the price of cement is very high. Yeah? And it's true when you look at the region. So we have a situation now where academia with the brilliance and solutions is coexisting with industry and these problems. And both of us are dying. So I believe the call that we have done today is very significant because we are beginning to say, let's face each other. Let's work together for the common good. How then can industry and academia collaborate better to enhance engineering education, improve graduate engineering employability, and make industry more competitive? We are mourning as manufacturing industry. We're closing shops because products that are far as China are landing here more effective, cheaper, and so forth. We can't compete. But at the same time, like I said, this coexistence challenge that we have institutions that if we could pour in money, if we could provide platforms, if we could release certain things, they could engage into issues that resolve these problems. So, industry-academia partnerships are important, and I think that's very clear. I know many companies have established alliances already, and all we are are saying is that what has been done is not sufficient, let's do more and move forward. What then are we proposing? We've got the standard internships that were spoken of. And internship has been viewed as a burden by industry. Surely we can structure it so that it can benefit them and they can see the benefit that comes out of it. So let's not stick to this traditional model where you come and appeal and beg for placement issues, but you can convert it to commercial benefits to the industry. And in the process, the student will learn and benefit and better. Participation of industry advisory board, that has already been covered, so they must come early and speak and contribute as opposed to stand as judges to a product of an institution. Sponsorship of students and awards, very interesting. We are interested in sponsoring students so that they can use cement. Find innovative ways of using cement so that we increase demand and we can employ more people, more graduates. So we want to come out as industry and work together with yourselves. And in the process, you become better and we also become even better. Industry supporting research and knowledge sharing by providing financial resources and the scope. So problems sit mainly in industry. And we are saying we'll provide the scope, we'll provide the platform where you can come and apply your research knowledge to solve our problem and make us better players in that. Industry participating in technology development, especially involving exploratory work. We don't, my colleague earlier on said we don't have the time, but in a way we have resources that you can work with. So we will define in a crude manner the issues that are of bother to us. And when we do that, you can pick up that and run with it. I said earlier on, cement prices are very high. The cost of manufacturing cement is high. I know in the platinum industry, they struggle with the waste material called slag, which can be used as a raw material. Thermal power stations struggle with ash, which can be used as a raw material. If we can come together, we can fund the process of working and looking at those issues. I see the director of ceremonies. So, technology transfer, a very challenging issue. I can speak on behalf of manufacturing industries. We pay a lot of, going into millions of US dollars every year to buy technology either next door or from overseas. That money can be channeled to develop capabilities locally. We upgraded PLCs recently, PS7s, and moving from something. And we brought people to come and work on that. A few months later, we're going to change our burning technology. Just a burner, core burner. And we're flying people from Germany to come and work there. I mean, don't look at me as the guilty party. We also have a role to play. And all I'm saying is that this is just, I'm grateful that you have provided this opportunity and we can begin to talk so that we can progress our discussion further. So in conclusion, I'll just reiterate that manufacturing industry recognizes the importance of academia industry collaboration, and we stand to gain expertise that we need most, and the expertise that could be the difference between survival or commercial failure. And on the other hand, universities, I've heard budgets being spoken about, I've heard requests for sponsorship, you need funding. And the money that is being lost through use of inefficient technology can be channeled to productive things that can create a better future for us. Thank you.
Work with the academia. Earlier in his presentation, he was excited that the presenters now have a way of controlling their time by taking my microphone. The idea of putting the podium here was that we wanted that blue banner to come out in our pictures and videos. However, we still have another banner next to the door who can work with that. So whatever suits you. We are now going to invite our energetic retired engineer, Engineer Murungweni. He's going to talk about, to us about building partnerships and training of graduates for the construction sector.
I think was the link between academia as well and industry. People had done very well, and I must say, heads off, there was a link, but there were no takeoffs from that particular situation. I was a judge on several occasions of the expos, which were actually done between the period which you stated. And I saw a lot of innovations from universities, practical things, where a country of, depending on agriculture, but a lot was done, but no take from industry. So I dispute to say there was no link. There was plenty of it. We have only not carried on with what we started. Those of you who are of my age, and there are very few of them I noticed, will notice there was a science exhibition throughout the country of students from high schools, even secondary schools, I would say. That, again, we've already thrown away and nothing is actually happening. Right, let me take you 2 minutes explaining an argument between engineers of various disciplines. The question was, in what mood was God when he created man? First was the mechanical engineer, because I noticed there are quite a lot of them in here. I said obviously it was the mechanical engineer because look at the limbs, the way people walk, you turn your head here and there. So it can only be a mechanically motivated designer to come up with such a human being. Next was the electrical engineer saying, Christ, look at the impulse between, if you get bent on your toes, immediately it gets to the brain and you can quickly remove your foot. It's all because of the electrical impulse in your system. The biochemical engineer said, oh, well, it can only be a biochemical engineer. Now, if God had said, if you want children, climb Kilimanjaro or Everest 4 times with your wife and you have children, I bet you will be very few. So the chemistry which was put into reproduction system actually makes us really, the population being higher in the world. So it was really a biochemical engineer when he was in that mood. So it went on and on until it came to the civil engineer. He then said, who else could have actually produced or put in place a pleasure pool with a diving board next to sewage works? Ladies and gentlemen, I've just highlighted this to show that it's all construction industry. We all have a part to play. So whatever we are doing, we're aiming to produce an engineer. Come and teach me, please. In case I collapse. You say, bloody hell, there you are, can you wake up? But engineering, unlike medicine, you cannot bury your mistakes. That's without any doubt at all. So whatever you're doing, you know one way or the other, if you cheat, if you do anything, somewhere on the line, it's going to come out. So you require diligence and honesty when you leave university to go and work into industry. Come on. Zeb. Right, this will be chop tree. Yeah. a professional engineer, a professional engineer is trained to design and to build mainly a public works such as roads, bridges, tunnels, harbors, docks, dams, you name it. I put in docks and all those things, harbors, because I understood there were going to be people from Mozambique and here and there. But this is what bulk of the construction in the industry is all about. I'm glad, Mr. Spanders, you touched on cement, for example. I find it very strange that you can go to Zambia, buy a pocket of cement, pay duty over it, transport it into Harare, and it's still cheaper than the cement you actually get within Zimbabwe. That's very strange. So somewhere on the line, we are not utilizing the resources from the universities. And I must point out at this stage, remember the first engineering degree was started in 1974. Because prior to that, there was no faculty of engineering at the University of Zimbabwe. All engineers were either trained outside and they came into Zimbabwe to do their practice. Now, thereafter, we started them, I think the first graduates were in 1979. No, 1978, that's right. The likes of Dr. Tumbare and a couple of guys who are here. Now, were they trained? Look at that brand of engineers I'm just talking about. Were they trained to suit society? I'll say yes, without any doubt. They trained and then they were capable of producing whatever tasks they were actually given. Are the universities still doing the same? I would say yes. Reason, if you look at the universities now, they're all filled with guys who have actually either left Zimbabwe or from outside, and they're having a direct input into the universities. The only problem is the industry is not taking on. That's the problem. How many cranes are erected in Zimbabwe under current situation? I've looked around Harare. Have you found any construction going on?
Just have to go to the new parliament.
Oh, correct. That's the only crane you actually, it has just been erected. A few weeks ago it wasn't there. But what I'm saying is there's hardly any construction going on in the country. If Cyclone Ida had actually struck a place like Borwe or Harare, all this, like, I'm not saying people didn't die in Manikaland, but we would have had lots and lots of deaths if that had occurred around this part of the country. The dams are not being maintained. Roads are not being maintained. Sewerage works, which I deliberately put in there to say engineering is not just the desk work, smart job. You have to do with shit. One gentleman did say to me, Zeb, you must remember, it's not only cream which comes to the top, shit also comes to the top. So really, at the present moment, we are not putting where our mouth is. In Chinyanja, they will say, when you're a poor born. The reason is, we are all our establishments were started as forts, all on high ground. With respect to water, all our shit is going into that particular water, but not in the state in which the receiving waters should be sort of receiving it. So there is a lot we have to do in terms of maintenance. And this is one aspect I don't know the universities are training graduates, yes, correctly, on how to design and do it, but I don't know whether there's a lot of emphasis being put on maintenance. There's right across the whole country, there's lack of maintenance, of buildings, of roads, dams, canals, you name it. We are all sitting on a time bomb. Look at the number of people who are dying on the Harare Mashingo Road at Dubai Bridge. It's all nothing but mainly being caused by lack of maintenance. Somebody, was it Dr. Diarra, who said, we are not working with the community. Let me me just say in conclusion, as I hope I know a lot of things will come in the discussions. We are not involving the communities for sure. And I'll give you an example of a young hydrologist who was coming from a conference or a workshop like this one, who was crossing a river, and he couldn't cross with his vehicle because the river was in floods. He had one of these dinghy or canoe to cross that river. And while he was on the boat, he left his car, but he could not leave his documents. He asked the operator, who was a local community person, how much water is passing through this particular river at the moment? The guy said, oh no, I don't know. Oh, 10% of your life is gone. What is the frequency of this flood? Can you tell me? He said, oh, I'm sorry, I don't know what you're talking about. And he said, what year did you have a flood higher than this? He said, I couldn't remember, but what I know, every year I cross people from here to there. Now, he was so bored with the questions he was being drilled to. And the floods, meanwhile, the floods were increasing. Then it was his turn. He said, young man, let me ask you, do you know swim, Robert? The young man said, oh, I can't even swim. He said, 100% of your time is gone. Thank you.
I always enjoy working with this young man who was just speaking. Definitely still very energetic. Thank you so much. If you look at your program, we are supposed to move into discussions, but we have decided to join that with day-end resolutions. So if you have your contributions, please jot them down. We're going to have that session together with the resolution session. So at this moment, we're now going to invite Pastor Mawofa. He's here to represent the ministry, and he's going to talk about the government's vision and expectations for engineering higher education institutions.
Good morning to you all. Good, thank you. I take this opportunity to recognize in absentia the Vice Chancellor of the University of Zimbabwe, Professor Mafuma, the Pro-Vice Chancellor, Professor Bogwa, and the Pro-Vice Chancellor Admin, Professor Mbuyana. May I also take this opportunity to recognize Engineer Yemba, and also to recognize the board chairperson of one of our agencies, which is called Verify. That's Air Commodore Dr. Engineer Kansoko. I'm also recognizing the Director of Ceremonies. May I have the opportunity to declare that all protocols observed. I'm going to speak on the vision of the ministry building into the Vision 2030 of the nation for modernization and industrialization. But before I go into the presentation, I would just like to take this opportunity to congratulate Engineer Nyemba and his team for successfully bidding for the £100,000 funding from the Royal Academy of UK. So that will be the presentation outline, ministry vision, the programs, and the conclusion. The Ministry of Higher Tertiary Education aims to develop a higher tertiary education system that generates knowledge which results in goods and services. And the vision aims at delivering a competitive, modernized, and industrialized Zimbabwe through higher and tertiary education, science and technology development. There are 4 thematic areas within the vision, and these are the higher and tertiary education, the science and technology development, where I'm coming from through the Department of Research, Development and Innovation, By the way, I'm sorry also, I should have also mentioned the apology of Dr. Engineer Ganda, who was supposed to be here, where I'm standing in for, but he has other pressing commitments. So that's the department which I represent. Then also innovation and industry is part of the department, and then governance and extension. The ministry has got a number of prioritized programs, but today I will just focus on those which relate to research and development and the engineering, since these are interfaces for academia and industry. And so those are the major programs which are under the Department of Research, Development and Innovation. The first one having been the National Critical Skills Audit, which has been done in 2018, where an effort was done to try and find out where are the skills gaps, where are the efficiencies, where are the surpluses within our nation, Zimbabwe, in terms of the skills. And from that report, it was very interesting to note that we have great deficiencies in engineering, just having only about 6.3. In agriculture, which is the mainstay of our nation, which is about 12% only in terms of skills, so a deficiency of 88% in agriculture, and in engineering about 93-point-something%, I think 93.5. And it goes on and on even to the health sectors and so forth. But in total, when we speak about Zimbabwe's literacy rate of 94%, the deficiencies would come to an average of about 34. Let me just check with the phone. I do have just the page on it. Yes, I'm going to talk about that deficiency table, which I have to give the real numbers. Okay, thank God I have the gadget, IT gadget with me. Just want to give the correct number. Right. In engineering and technology, its availability of about 6.5 and a deficiency of 93.5. Then we go to applied, natural and applied sciences, only availability of 3.09%, deficiency of 96 point something. Then in business and commerce, an interesting overflow of 21% and availability of 121%. We move to agriculture, I've already stated 12% and a deficiency of 88%. We go to medical and health sciences, 5% availability and 95% deficiency. And we go to applied arts and humanities, availability of 82% and a deficiency of 18%. So that's just a recap of the whole exercise of what came out of that exercise. So that exercise now built into all the other programs which came into place for the ministry in order for it to be able to build into the Vision 2030. So there came now a program which is called Education 5.0 of trying to realign the education system to ensure that we produce goods and services from our higher and tertiary education system by ensuring that besides what they were doing long ago in terms of only teaching, research, and also community service, but make sure that we add innovation hubs and industrial parks, which is in number 4. So that's the philosophy which the ministry now started running with, which it is running with right now. And part of the other programs are geospatial, aeronautical, and space science. Because of the development of technologies we've heard from all the other presenters, Zimbabwe will not be left behind. So we must move to the point where you should also have something, a satellite in the space, and be able to exploit the current existing new technologies. So that is what is called the geospatial, aeronautical and space sciences. And then within that one, obviously, there was what is called the Zimbabwe National Geospatial and Space Agency, which was officially opened by His Excellency last year in April. And if you are good readers of the Sunmail, you would always notice that the Honorable Minister, almost within a fortnight, he normally gives a talk on these programs. So I'm speaking just exactly as to what you were speaking in the Sunmail. That ZINCSA, which is called the Space Agency, is already at a board which has been appointed, and it's just a matter of time when you will release. And he mentioned in that talk that he was not at liberty, but would in the near future just announce the board. So it's at advanced stages. The area where it should be located is already being worked on in terms of furnishing it and everything to support that board. And obviously, you saw also, he mentioned about, study tours which were done to other nations which have done well in the areas of geospatial, like Russia, and recently in Japan, where he had also some other interactions, and also the other one in Italy. So 3 study tours. So those will be benchmarked on for this board. Then innovation hubs and industrial parks are measured from number 2, which is the Education 5.0. The aim is to ensure that the graduates which are produced from the universities, they produce goods and services which can be used by the communities. We had the issues of a lack of linkage with the communities, but that's the thrust. So the challenges should come from the communities, and the students and the universities should develop the innovations which should be incubated in the innovation hubs and later on produced in mass in the industrial parks. And to that effect, 6 innovation hubs have been established at 60 universities, but the thrust is to establish at each and every university, and 10 industrial parks, 1 for each province. Then also a HEP Performance Committee, and we have energy and minerals research, where I was talking about the engineer, Dr. Kamsoko, where we have what is called refer engineering, and into producing technologies for changing coal to fuel or coal to fertilizer. And biotechnology in terms of artificial insemination, and a program which was launched also by His Excellency through the University of Chinoy University of Technology in March this year, to ensure that we increase productivity. Then we have emerging technologies like Internet of Things, which was talked about, being part of high performance computing, and others. Then these are the expectations, obviously, to ensure that they speak to the vision, and that the higher and tertiary institutions will have close links with industry from what we've heard from all the other presenters, and that we attain vision, the Agenda 2030. And in conclusion, that the ministry will encourage that you have these interactions where you have industry and academia coming together, and in the end we want to see products and services which meets the requirements of the societies. I want to thank you.
Thank you very much, and we appreciate all that the government is offering and what that they are willing to work with us. We truly appreciate that. We now want to move on to the University of Zimbabwe. We want to hear about their roadmap to meeting industry needs. We are going to invite the acting deputy dean, Dr. Tawanda Mshiri. He is also a senior lecturer in the mechanical engineering department.
I would like to welcome the Pro Vice Chancellor Professor Mbowa, the Strategic Partnerships and Industrialization, Pro Vice Chancellor, Research and Academic Affairs, the Dean of Engineering, Professor Makurira, and the Chairman of HEPSA. Thank you very much for being with us here. And I'd also like to say all protocols observed. Good afternoon. I'm going to talk about the UZ roadmap to meeting industry needs. And I'm going to talk about in respect to the Royal Academy of Engineering. We are always seeing in the University of Zimbabwe, the Vice Chancellor always say the university is now moving at a very fast speed, and we have all realized that. We now have a new UZ strategic plan that has been launched in August this year, 2019 to 2025. It sets out to guide the university community and the partners on a transformative pathway to the delivery of goods and services towards through innovation, industrialization, and the modernization of Zimbabwe. So we can actually see this thing is now moving, and we are working toward that. And this is in line with the Education 5.0 that the Ministry of Higher and Tertiary Education was saying, which is anchored on the teaching aspect, the research, the community service, which was the Education 3.0. And we have moved further to the industrialization and innovation. So the University of Zimbabwe is also in line and working toward that. There was a strategic plan that was there, and they realized that with the much moving speed, we need to revise our strategic plan, and we have the new one, 2019 to 2025. And we are also in line with the Vision 2030. Zimbabwe, we need it to be a middle income economy. We produce graduates, we have our lecturers. What are they doing so that they achieve Zimbabwe to be a middle income economy by 2030? Graduates are supposed to fit into the industry, and industry to help mold a fitting graduate. It's supposed to be a graduate coming from UZ being able to fit into the industry, not industry to have a load to say what is coming from UZ. How can we help this student? How can we help this graduate? Is not knowing some key aspects. So with this new strategic plan and with this new innovation and industrialization, the graduate is actually going to benefit from the university and fitting very well into the industry. We have our Industry 4.0. This is the talk everywhere from 2006 to 2030. We are talking about the Industry 4.0, whereby we talk about the robotics, the artificial intelligence, the Internet of Things. So that's where we are now. But we are saying the speed that everything is moving with. In 2030, we are moving again to a new thing, which is called the digital ecosystem, the Industry 5.0. The Industry 4.0 is making sure that Internet is helping everywhere. Robots are doing almost everything. But now the Industry 5.0 is sending back the human being again into the system with artificial intelligence controlling almost everything. So we are saying, what are we doing at the University of Zimbabwe to fall in line with that? We are also going to change our curricula and all that kind of stuff to make sure that our graduates, when they come from the university, they fill the gap and they help the industry, economic benefits, ZESA benefits, Delta benefits, not for them to be a problem. The Faculty of Engineering is also moving with speed, also in line with the university, to interact more with the industry. So the question that you might ask is, are you happy with our graduates? The people in the industry, are you happy with electrical engineers? Are you happy with mechanical engineers from UZ? Are you happy with civil engineers from UZ? Are you happy with the programs on offer? Are you happy with the program that we are talking about? Do you need a new thing? So tell us, once you tell us now, because we need to bridge that gap between the academia and industry. We don't just bring programs, we need to listen from you. Are you aware of the current curriculum that was adopted since 2017? In 2017, we had a revamp, we had a new curriculum review. Are you happy with it? Right? what should we do? What should we stop doing? What should we start doing? Do you have questions for us? We are here to listen to you, to say, I think you should stop this. You should introduce this so that your graduates fit very well. What should we do more? What should we do less? So that one is a diagram for what is called the waterfall structure, whereby, or the over-the-wall approach, whereby you are just sending and you are not listening to people. That's the over-the-wall approach, but we are moving into what is called the concurrent or simultaneous engineering, whereby we listen to whatever someone is saying, we listen to people from health, we listen from the people from transport, we listen from, that's the industry 4.0 aspect, transport 4.0, health 4.0, telecommunications 4.0, then we link together to come up with something that is really meaningful to solve problems of Zimbabwe and beyond. What can be done to ensure smooth transition after students graduate from UZ or any other local engineering university? So those are the questions that also we need to answer, and we answer them carefully. Right? If it was to improve engineering training with the engineering faculty, university is adopting a programmatic approach across the board. This means defining new research agendas, which has been done. This calls for serious engagement with all stakeholders. Reviewing attachment design, we now have an attachment. Our current 3-2 students, next year they are going for attachment. That's good news for us. We now have attachment. Our students are going to benefit before they graduate. When they go back after graduating, they know what are some of the expectations from the industry. Student mentorship program in collaboration with the ZIE. We have started a new program whereby we look into the industry. When we started that, we thought it was going to be a problem. We asked the industry, people in Zimbabwe and beyond, the engineers, to say, can you help mentoring our students? And the outcome was overwhelming. People are really much keen to help our students to advise. So that's what we are also having. Establishment of an industrial advisory board. This is there. This is chaired by Engineer Dawson Maria from Willowgo Motor Industries. We have industry there. We have Engineer Mavelas Panda, who was just here. He's part of the Industrial Advisory Board. We have Econet, we have Delta, we have quite a number of engineers and industries who help us to mold our graduates. Research programs that have strong links with the industry and the society. We also move around and also hear what the industry wants, what are the problems that they have. Then we try to solve those problems with our students so that students link very well with the industry. Improve the skills transfer strategies for students, lecturers going on attachment to industry during vacations. I also benefited that when I went to Zimplats for a 3 months attachment. Evidence of UZ's serious intention to transform university business towards industrialization and modernization. You have seen Professor Mbowa here. He is the new PVC for strategic partnerships and industrialization. He's engaging the industry, he's working with the industry so that we are not isolated. We are working with the industry. Then we also have new directors who are there, the executive directors. We have a director for research and innovation, and we also have a director for quality assurance to test or check whatever we are doing, are we in line. Then the launch of that, it has been done, the strategic plan, setting up of innovation hub and agro-industrial park. We are creating opportunities whereby students or students who are currently at the university or some people who are out or the community, we work towards solving a particular problem. That's incubation. So we basically need to do that in the innovation hub, and we can also industrialize it, making it at a larger scale using our agro-industrial parks. We are having a serious support from the government with respect to the innovation hub and agro-industrial park, and with that support, the University of Zimbabwe is also going to benefit a lot to help its students go up. Adoption of research pillars and the research clusters to anchor programs. We heard Professor Mbowa talking about the 6 pillars that we have in engineering. We also need to make sure that we inform the industry what are we working on so that we help each other to solve those. Review of programs and promotion of collaborations across faculties. So once we hear something from someone in the industry to say you are lacking on this, we can start to work on the review, and we also advise so that we are moving according to what is happening. Then accelerated links within Zimbabwe industry, region, and global. That's what we are also doing. New demand-driven degree programs. Someone will say, I've heard the links that are being talked about, the telecoms, the health sector. Can we, in the near future, come up with a biomedical engineering degree? Can we, in the near future, come up with informatics? So we also need to look into those so that we fit very well into the system. 1 year industrial attachment, we already have that. Then what's our roadmap? We have our strategic plan, development of strategic implementation framework by faculties, then the review of programs, stakeholder consultations or program, and the curriculum development is ongoing. The advancement of new programs, we are also targeting by February 2020, and the delivery of new programs. So that's basically what I have for you today. Thank you very much for listening. We are here to listen. Thank you.
Dr. Mshiri, you see why I said he didn't need a microphone. And he really made sure that he said everything that needed to be said in those 10 minutes. Thank you so much for telling us what UZ is doing. We are now moving on to Harare Institute of Technology. We have Engineer Chikurune, who's going to tackle on that.
A very warm welcome to you, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Engineer Chikurune. I'm fitting into very big and long shoes of Dr. Perkins Murenzi, who is the Dean of the School of Engineering and Technology. At HEP, we don't call it a faculty, we call it a school. We just choose to be different. There is a saying that if you cannot measure it, you cannot control it. Nothing about us without us. So nothing about industry without industry. So you may never fully utilize a river until and unless you've understood its catchment area, lest it dries up while you're just starting your first sprinkler to irrigate. So ladies and gentlemen, we are here to look at how we, HIT is contributing towards meeting the industry needs. And I'm sure I was just thinking when my boss, Dr. Murenzi, called me, or he has sent his apologies, he's gone for a funeral. And there was no electricity, austerity measures, and I had to rush to the nearest internet cafe in town. And that's the reason why I've been late, and I apologize for being late for a very powerful and highly profiled workshop like this. But nevertheless, let's get to the business of the day. What are the industry needs? Like we said, if you cannot measure something, you cannot control it. And nothing about them without them. So in order to assist industry, one needs to be alive to their needs. The big question is, what does industry really need? In trying to answer that, we felt that industry needed retooling. We felt that industry needed competent and knowledgeable human capital, particularly professional engineering staff. We felt industry requires raw materials, new raw materials. They also need new products. They need emerging technologies if they are to be alive to Industry 4.0 or Industry 5.0, which Dr. Machire has alluded to. But industry also requires funding, it's a fact. So what is HEP doing to address the needs? HEP is an innovation, technology and engineering university. And what has it done so far? So far, we've produced graduates who are responsive to the needs of industry. A couple of years ago, with due respect, I remember NAST was the darling of the industry. I didn't know why every other company would take NAST graduates ahead of perhaps UZ, CAT. It was not yet there at that time. Whatever happened, happened. But I know the birth of HIT changed the tables. It is not a secret that at the moment we are the birthday boys, boy of the industry, and whenever well, with due respect, like I've said, when we send our students in industry together with those from our colleagues, it is not a secret that behind not closed doors but phone calls, we always hear that we will have also to accommodate NAST and CAT and use it. We can't take all of them from you. So it's a sure sign that there's something that we are doing which perhaps our colleagues have not been doing. As HIT, we have reconfigured our curricula to align it with the demands of the industry. How did we reconfigure? We have invited the industry to the discussion table. We have done wide stakeholder consultation. Each time we have had to introduce a new degree program or review a curriculum, we had to make sure that the necessary stakeholders, particularly the industrialists, should come on board and interrogate our proposal. We move the motion by putting a proposal and then they interrogate. We give them a lot of time and sometimes you realize that 9 out of 10 times we take what they will have put in the correction in the proposals because it's them. It means that we are trying to address not our needs. There are times when their input to our stakeholder concern are a bit wild in terms of academics, and you think, no, this does not help us in academia. But at the end of the day, we realize that no, we are training for them. So we end up actually taking certain things that ordinarily you would not find in a curriculum. That's why HIT is a little bit different. We kind of dreamers. We have incorporated mandatory design and innovation research projects. I should have said projects. I know elsewhere they would have said they say project. HIT we say project. Why? Our graduates will not be kept until and unless they've got a project, a prototype which we have classified as HEP 200, which is actually a group product development. So when they're in second year, which is actually being defined by the 200, the two there, they're in second year and they are in groups, they have to find a problem, a real problem in industry and in the community, and they have to deal with the problem and find a working solution. So that's the entry point for them in research, and each one of them, in terms of presenting that group project, is interrogated independent of the other, and has got a set of questions that are actually directed to that individual to show that there has been total participation. You find that even if it was a group, we are having students who are failing, while others are actually passing, which is actually not the usual. You should either pass the group or fail the group, but we don't do that. We look at those who are actually working flat out in the project during the course of the time. So HEP 300, the 3 is telling you that in part 3, a student has to accomplish a research project which has got a design bearing, and that project should solve an industrial problem. And this is an individual research project. Then we've got capstone design, and the capstone design HEP 400, which is part 4. This capstone, as we would all appreciate, we are actually molding somebody who will produce a solution that can be commercialized, a solution that can create a new industry, a solution that actually is not theory-based, but it is industry-based, and the problem should emanate from industry, should have the supervisor from industry, and the university should only be co-supervising. What have we done to ensure that these graduates actually are able to actually innovate? We have actually established technology centers. A technology center is a vehicle now where these research projects, when they want to prototype, they have to go to the technology center and actually have their product made from there and tested. So it's actually seized with actually receiving all raw ideas that are actually coming from these students and putting them, packaging them into something that is commercializable. Once the technology center is satisfied with the work that has been done, you will find that that work ordinarily jumps to, what have I done here? Okay, thank God. Okay, I will not do it again. So the Technology Center feeds the fourth bullet there, Technology Transfer, Licensing and Commercialization Center. Once the prototype has been tested and produced and tested at the Technology Center, then it is fit. If it is fit for purpose, then actually we are actually claiming IP there, and we are trying to protect and license the idea. When we are doing the licensing, we are looking at companies like, for example, well, by profession, I'm a polymer engineer. Very unusual to have that kind of engineering discipline, but I think Dr. Diarra here present and Dr. Femoyo will appreciate that. There was a time when HIT introduced the polymer technology and engineering, and I was the brains behind it, actually relocating from the UK and bringing it on. It was thought it would be under chemical engineering, but I actually proved that there is a discipline called polymer engineering. Because when we make the tires of those tractors, the big tire, when we make the wings of the aeroplane, you don't find a civil or engineer coming anywhere closer to that. So actually we agreed that polymer engineering is a new discipline, so it's actually in the ZIE now as one of them. So that's where actually I come in. So then we have got the Technopreneurship Center. Most of our engineering student graduates are actually going out there and are unable to cost the work that they have done. They cannot actually put a price tag on what they are interested in, being innovative, making fancy products, but they don't know how much they would cost. Perhaps the reason why PPC, Dr. Simanda was saying, their cement remains expensive is because they are not putting costing into their designing and innovation when the students are actually solving these problems. So we've got a technopreneurship where we are saying you should be able to understand the accounts of things. You should be able actually to market the product that you have actually produced. So you are producing an all-rounder engineer. And then I've already talked about the technology transfer with Technology Education Center. Here we are saying graduates, engineering graduates, when they go out there in industry, they should be able also to be technical training officers. They should be able actually to teach the pedagogics of engineering when they actually go in the industry. We know industry has got training officers who are in mind. So we also have got Innovation Hub, the Innovation Hub which I think I'm out of time. The Innovation Hub is also, which is in construction at HIT, is obviously going to be looking at the research that's coming from departments. And we have got a design think lab. We will not waste much time there. And we've got a printed circuit board lab. This is a way of empowering the students and staff to. So if you want a printed circuit board, you should come to HIT. We actually do it. So why are we doing it? So that industry, if they cannot find the funding that they want and they want this circuit board, they actually work with that and there is a collaboration there. I've just put a few slides. These are equipment that we've actually brought. This is a tensometer and this is a motor winding, a machine, and that one is a gear hopper. That one is also a CNC, and that one is an AAS, and that one is a synthesis reactor for polymers. Madam will have to, I'm sorry, I quickly move on now. On the technology, the technopreneurship, I just put a short word. The industry was with us and was being trained by, that one is our PVC, for those who know them, Dr. Chanakira, in terms of technopreneurship and what actually our students are doing. So, actions towards the roadmap, I'm almost finishing. We are involved in collaborative research with industry through students on internship. We are also providing consultancy work and training industry in our centers of excellence. And also we are seconding industrialists to be part-time lecturers and technicians in our classrooms so that their hands-on and competent skills that they have in industry are being brought into our labs and workshops. And like the other way around, where our students are going there and then damaging the machines. They have no idea how these machines actually work when we train them here because of the short time. But when they are being taught by the persons who use equipment in industry, they actually have got the hands-on. We also do consultation like I did, and we've established a Technovation Day once a year for industry and commerce. which I think perhaps Dr. Mulungwene, Engineer Mulungwene has alluded to as Science Day in 1974, I think. I was only 2 years. So the actions towards the roadmap, we've incorporated big data and data analytics, intellectual property and artificial intelligence into all our engineering. Then they cannot graduate. That's the policy. They just have to produce something that is tangible. Heritage-based education is looking at, for example, like I said, I'm a polymer engineer. I was in Mutoko and Domboshawa and also in Mutiripi River, taking trees that produce rubber in this country. In this country, when we see a rubber tree, tiliwakomana uspeak perhaps in Shona, taiona njiwa ine yabatwa ni utatarimbo, toisa south. But that is the tires of your BMW, the tires of your Mercedes-Benz. So we are now trying to look, don't we have trees that can actually produce rubber in this country? Yes, we have got them, but are they of the same quality as the Via Brasilensis in Brazil or in Malaysia? We have actually done the test and characterization, and we have come to conclude that the chemistry is the same. The problem is, with rubber, latex, we have got 60% water and 40% rubber, and we don't have much rain in this country. That's why rubber is a preserve of the rainforest kind of climatic condition. But we have the rubber, and we are trying to make rubber bands. We are also trying to make at least a V-belt for a Vitz car, just to prove that we can add value. We are also teaching our students to add value to waste plastics. As you can see, a lot of people are now collecting plastics and to actually add value. It's a fuel, somebody actually mentioned it. And we are also saying for the suit that I'm wearing, it's the same bottle that he has got your water. Perhaps you didn't know. That's the reason why you will never pick one outside lying around. I am an advocate to the banning of K-Lite, and I say that they banned a very beautiful material. The only FDA food approved material by the United Nations, and Zimbabwe has banned it. What a shame. Sorry to say to those who were behind it, but that's exactly the feeling. We should have actually, at HIT we designed a reactor and converted that into styrene monomer, and we also converted it into petrol, which we actually have got at HIT, but actually I fall to perhaps deaf ears, sorry about that. But this is actually why industry is not really coming, because they cannot take, these innovations are not being taken, and I want to acknowledge Engineer Mulungwene for saying effort is being done, but industry is not really coming up front to really put money onto the innovations that are actually there. Perhaps if you just step back, I think. Yeah, so we're looking at introducing new degree programs, new degree programs like the polymer technology, the biomedical engineering that's coming, materials, and also we are into renewable related degrees that solar and wind power, so that we bring in new emerging technologies so that the industry can actually have the industry 4.0. But we need to engage the industry itself. Maybe they do not quite know what Industry 4.0 is about, and us as academics, we are running with it instead of really sitting down with them and interrogate if they understand it. They are worried about raw materials when we are worried about artificial intelligence. So I think we need to really come together and actually have that collaborative and consultative work so that we actually start together and finish together. I would like to thank you on that note. Thank you.
To add words like fulcrum, V11 to our vocabulary. Today we have another word, pedagogic. The principles and methods of instructions, teaching methods, a way of doing something, especially a systematic way, implies orderly, logical arrangement. Put that to your vocabulary, please. Okay, we are now going to have our last speaker before our lunch. I'm glad about the one who's talking to people just before they go to eat. Marazike is representing the Dean of Engineering at Chindo University.
Thank you. Good afternoon to you all. I hope you are not hungry. Allow me just to say all protocols observed. Well, I'm just here to stimulate debate I'm going to present CAT. I will start by introduction, and then I'll look at some of the strategies that we've adopted and also the best practices that we have also, we also think that if we follow them, we'll be successful. Right. CAT was established in 2001. It has got about 8,000 students. 2,000 of those are in the School of Engineering Sciences and Technology. There's our vision and our mission. Of course, the CAT mandate resonates very well with industry. That is the technology development. We've got 5 departments under the school. Our programs, I can say I can say that they are needed by the industry. We've got a Department of Fuels and Energy, a Department of ICT and Electronics. We've got a Department of Environmental Engineering. We also have a Department of Production Engineering. Right. I'll start by asking a question. Of course, some of the issues have already been discussed by my colleagues and also the industrialists. What are the industrial needs? Of course, they need a competent workforce. They also need experts who can provide advisory and consultancy services. But they also need innovations and entrepreneurs, people who can come up with new products, new production systems. That's what we believe in. But also, since the industrialists are here, they can also tell us what they need. We've been involving industry from the beginning through curriculum development. From the beginning, we always consult the industry. We've got a 5-year cycle in terms of consultations with our stakeholders, whereby we give them our curriculum and we solicit for their inputs, and also we review those programs, as I said, every 5 years. And we also hold consultative workshops when we introduce new programs. Recently we introduced 2 new programs. We also involved our stakeholders and we had a workshop. Right. In terms of curriculum design, we want the industry to take part, and we always put effort, and we make sure that their input is taken is taken into consideration. Right. In our curriculum, I can highlight industrial attachment, which is a way or an opportunity for industry to also teach our students, so that they reflect whatever they want our students to be able to do after they've graduated. We also have projects which are done in the final year. We've got individual research projects, and then we also have group design and make projects. And then also, we also take into consideration that there's need to teach the students, or maybe when we cannot teach them, but there's need to emphasize on critical thinking and also problem-based pedagogy, also ICT and communication skills. All these are coming from the industry. We had a review. I think the last review was in 2014, and the next review is in 1 year, in a year's time, and we are coming back to our stakeholders, and I hope they are going to change the content also and restructure the programs for us. We've always involved them, right? And in the delivery, we want also the industrialists to take part. When we send our students for industrial attachment, we hope that the industrialists, they pay attention to the students. Sometimes, of course, they say that they want to meet targets, and they cannot have enough time for our students. But please, take time to attend to the students, because you are the beneficiaries of that manpower after they have finished. They are coming to join you, right? Okay. Of course, resources they've already been mentioned here, that we've got challenges with lack of resources. It can be in terms of manpower. Right. We also invite the industry to provide those experts who can come and maybe give a talk to the students. And then also in the development of labs, we are saying we don't have the resources, we don't have the money. But industry, can you chip in? Okay? And I hope through this discussion we are going to come up with solutions in terms of the equipment and laboratories that are needed to develop skilled engineers. Right. Right. The question is, what type of education should we offer? Should it be skill-based education, or should it be academic-based education? Right. With the emphasis of Education 5.0, which is talking about innovation, industrialization, I think we should be operating in the middle, whereby we offer both. Right. It's something that which can be debated and discussed by this forum. Right. Then I move on to research and technology development. Right. The research agenda. Who should set the agenda for academics? We've seen that individual academics somebody's researching on that, someone on that. They're interested in publishing so that they get promoted. Right. But we don't have the resources. We need to be focused. What is the vision of the country? What are the national needs? In 10 years, 20 years' time, what do we need to achieve as a country? Do we have any niche areas that we can focus on so that we channel our resources to those areas? These are questions that we can try to answer. Right. We are establishing an innovation hub, of course, with the assistance of the Minister of Higher Education. We appreciate that. We're also establishing key laboratories, although I've already mentioned that we don't have the resources. We're expecting that the industry will chip in and will try to assist us. Well, in terms of the labs and equipment, I think there's need, I think one of the speakers here has already mentioned that there's need for us to share some of these resources. If the University of Zimbabwe has got a lab in fuels, for example, why should we establish another one in Chinoy when we know that we don't have the resources? So why don't we all share? So then lastly, I want to talk about the collaborations. Of course, we've been involved in partnership with various organizations. This can be universities for a project like this one, which is sponsored by the Royal Academy. I want to thank the Royal Academy for sponsoring. I think a number of our lecturers who have been seconded to the industry. Other collaborations that are involved, I can give, for example, with Tongji University of China, whereby we are trying to produce locally water treatment chemicals, and we also participate in projects like the learning factories, which we are interested in, which is an initiative from Squana University. And then we also have an advisory board, which of course is a direct link between us and the industry, and I hope through the advisory board we'll be able to get some of the funding that I was talking about. Right. We also have a school committee to spearhead the industrial engagements, which is under the school. Then lastly, maybe I'll talk about the good practices that have been adopted at CAT, starting with the networks, which is like this forum here. We are also participating. I've also talked about the research agenda there, that there's need to focus for the country, to say that maybe in 20, 50 years, we want to be the best in producing such a product. Can we do that? I don't know. Right. So that we channel our resources to that vision as a nation. We are also an industrial player. I can give an example that we have worked with some of the local authorities in their solar projects, and we have also been rendering advisory and consultancy services. Right. We also have a tracer studies which is online, whereby we solicit input from our former students in terms of the curricula, in terms of their experience, what our students are lacking from, what the industry needs, and what is lacking in our curriculum. They also assist us in that, right? And then we also want our programs to be accredited. They've been accredited by SINCHE, but we also want them to be accredited by the Engineering Council. We're working on that. We're also working on ISO certification for our programs. And also lastly, we also value our technicians, because I talked about the skills that are needed in our laboratories and workshops. And then finally, I thank you.
Thank you very much, Engineer Maraziba. One trick that you can also use if you're the next presenter, you stand with your back directly to the Director of Ceremonies. So when they stand up, you don't see them, but you just continue with your discussions. Thank you so much, and thank you everyone for participation. I'm sure you can see that there is a lot to talk about.
I'm sorry that I'm the disruptor of good things, you know. Lunch was cut short, they're coming back quickly, and you are going to have to listen to me while you are enjoying your dessert. But I hope the talk will help the dessert go down well. I want to acknowledge that the sense that I get is that all of us are trying to find ways of working together, but unfortunately we are not getting to that point where we actually get to work together. And I hope what I'm going to present about the work that we are doing on the other part of the continent will inspire us to think about our things that we're thinking about in a different way. I just want to confirm from the chair the director of the program, how many minutes I have?
30 minutes.
I've got 30 minutes, okay. So it looks like I'm given the times that were required earlier on of 2 hours. So thank you very much for your generality. So I'm the Gibela Research Chair in Manufacturing Skills and Development. Gibela is a company that is established to make trains in South Africa. It's a company that has been established from scratch, and at the onset of the project, the guys who are driving the industrial project have said we want to immediately cooperate with industry, with academia, sorry. Earlier on I heard PPC saying that there's some money that is being used to run their operation that is actually supposed to be used in the academic project. And I agree with him that definitely if academia was to come and to think about the things and apply the theory, there will be money that can be saved to be utilized in this space. But that money can even go beyond that, and this is why I am going to be talking. And then we also founded a Rail Manufacturing Center for Entrepreneurship Incubator, so the important part is the incubation part, because the reality is that all these ideas that are good, that are in the university, find themselves in the valley of death. I don't know how many of you understand the innovation value chain. There is a place where it's called the valley of death, between the ideas leaving the industry, the academic labs, to finding commercial application in the marketplace.
So many ideas find their way right into the valley of death. And this is why we had to set up the incubator. I don't know why it's not, I think the ratios are not right, if we can fix the ratios, because some of the text is being cut out. So I'm going to talk about the partnership between the university that I'm coming from, Gibela, who is the industrial partner, and the Small Enterprise Development Agency, which is more of a governmental agency. And then I'll talk about activities within the Department of Industrial Engineering. And the idea here is really to inspire the guys from academics to realize that the way that they think about this engagement with the industry must not be something that they think is going to be automatic. Somebody has to take the initiative somewhere. It's either the industry, or it is the academic person, or the academic, and even in an academic department, it's an individual who must start off that appetite of saying, where are the inefficiencies at PPC, you know? That must be somebody's headache. Even when they give examples in their classes, they are teaching, it must be about what are the inefficiencies when I teach my quality systems in a quality class. What are the quality issues that PPC is facing? When I teach my production technology, what are the quality issues? What are the production technology issues that PPC is facing? Right now, when he was here, I don't know who's teaching that production technology class. The colleague from PPC made reference to the purchase that they are making from Germany. I don't know who's made that note to say that, you know what, on that issue, or they've already discussed it during lunch. Because it's from those things where there are needs, where you pick up the connection and then you begin building up from what people have expressed verbally. Is it working, or is it going to work like this all the way? So on this slide, it's a video, so there's a part where you must play the video. Oh, it plays on its own, super. So this just demonstrates that it's the academia, then the industrial partner, and then we ended up with the incubator, which is responsible for taking the innovations from the academic space into the commercialized world. And I think we must accept it as academics that our ideas are not immediately ready for industry. After a project has been done by a student and an academic, even if it's informed by the partnership with the industry, it's not yet ready. It has to go through some refinement before it can actually be a solution that you can speak about. We must accept that as academics. I think sometimes we get very ideas, but our passion won't help us, because the industry will think that we don't understand what we're talking about. I don't know whether we are together there. So I'll talk more about my university now, some facts about us. I mean, those of you may not be knowing which one University of Technology is. We call ourselves the People's University that makes knowledge work. And through this, I think it exemplifies where we want to be. I must accept, standing right here, that I don't think we're the utopia to look up to. We still have issues to address, but we think that we're getting knowledge to work for us through this relationship that we're having with the industry partner. So in Africa, apparently we are the #1 university. I'm not sure the ranking, that Carab ranking, whether you know it, but according to that ranking, we are the #1 university of technology. So maybe UCT, you've heard that they're the #1 university in Africa, but we are the #1 university of technology. So the guys maybe from HEP, from CUT, we sort of relate there. And then in terms of our population, in student ratios, you will see that we are leaning towards the other gender. So you can imagine that it's definitely not the fact that we are mainly engineering, we've got a range of other faculties as well. And then we've got over 2,000 international students, so we are an international university in a way. And of that 60,000 of the students that we have, 2,900 is postgraduate students. So those of you who are still pursuing their PhDs, please feel free to come and engage us. And then these are some of the statistics around our university, just to give you a sense and a feel of who we are and our size and some of the aspects that we have. On this slide, we've got quite a number of research chairs. And maybe I must dwell here because earlier on, Dr. Nyemba was talking about industries coming to
help establish chairs within professorial chairs. Well done to Zimplatz. Unfortunately, Zimplatz is not here today. But maybe they are here in a way because he's here. I don't know whether you get that part. So maybe Econet, if they define clearly what are the issues that they want to be researched on. I heard them saying that they are planning to set up some R&D infrastructure, hopefully somewhere in Harare. But at the university, you can also have some sort of think tank to drive some of the ideas that are happening within that R&D center. So if you look at these research chairs, there's NRF, DST, so those ones are funded by the state. Unfortunately, the guy from the Ministry of Science and Technology has left, but I thought it would be good to talk about those directly with him as well, to say that, look, if we're going to do these things around the innovation hubs, we need this arm of the research side, which is at that high level, and it's very focused on this very specific area, and it also drives, and I think it challenges the industry in a way. Because if the state is putting efforts to do this, because even now, my chair is fully industrial. I don't know whether my pointer or it's me who's pointing in the wrong direction, but or the battery is flat, but my chair is this Kivela chair. It's fully funded by the industry. We don't get a cent from the state, but because of the funding that the industry has put, the state has now said they also want to come to the party. So if one person, if one side of the relationship starts, what I see from this is that the other party will have an appetite somewhere. Like for example, right now, the last time I was at the University of Zimbabwe, they've set up this innovation hub, you know? And I was asking the colleagues who I was driving with here that, have we leveraged on this relationship with the Royal Academy? Because the Royal Academy has been funding this, trying to bring the industry and the academics together into one room, get them speaking to each other and talking to each other. And then the state, I don't know, they were sitting somewhere and they said we're the new government, or, you know, we are new government, right? Am I right? You must correct me because I've lost all the politics at home. So then they said we want to do all these nice things, we want to put up all these innovations. I was actually in Copper Belt, and as I was driving, I actually passed through heat, and they took me to, you know, what the state is trying to do there, and I said, this is fantastic, this is great, you know. And now when I was coming for this workshop, I was asking myself, have we leveraged this support that we already have from the Royal Academy to say to the state, look, state, you want to build these things. There's this effort that has been happening. How can we go and lobby for more funds, maybe from the UK government, through the ambassador's office, around these innovation hubs? Because when I went there, it was a nice shell. There wasn't any equipment yet. Maybe the time for equipment hasn't come, but I'm not sure if the budget for the equipment is there. But maybe it's the right opportunity for the VC and the Minister of Science to go to the embassy and say, look guys, we're thankful for this work, but we've started this effort. Can we put hands together? I mean, the United Kingdom, they obviously have their own agenda. I mean, but I think the agenda that they had when Lopengula and all those other people were there, and the one that they can have now, we can manage that agenda. Because we also understand their systems and what they are doing. And we can leverage on the work that they're already doing to do even more with the resources that we currently have, or the efforts that we're trying to make. And then this is in terms of numbers and in terms of the sporting activity at the university. I think I'm not going to dwell on that. Then I'll go to the Kibela collaboration. So in this collaboration, it's the French has as you can see, 61% shareholding in this relationship, and then there's a local shareholding component which holds the other 39%. And the idea is that with time, the French will relinquish shareholding and the South African shareholder will be the majority shareholder with due time. So it's a 10-year contract to manufacture the infrastructure within the country, to manufacture commuter trains, and then a 15-year maintenance plan to do. So altogether, this is a 25-year project that must be be run. So through that, the state is also saying, okay, let's develop local enterprises, but also at the same time, let's develop skills and competencies around the manufacture of these trains, such that by the time we get to the second round of the project, because the reality is that after 25 years, the trains that you started off with will be old and you need to renew them, and the cycle continues. Another 25-year cycle is going to begin from there. So we've got SEDA as well in the relationship. So this is the state part of this relationship. SEDA is responsible for enterprise development. It's a government agency of the Department of Small Business Development. And I'm aware here that there's also a Department of Small Business Development. So whilst from a transport department, Gibela was established. From a small business development department, SEDA came in and said, let's do incubation, so that the ideas don't end up in the library gathering dust, but they can find their way into the industry and be utilized. So I think we need each other all the way, and the departments where we can leverage support from, we need to leverage support from as and when the cases apply. I mean, earlier on there were people from mining, there were people from construction. I think there are specific ministries that relate to those areas that may also be excited about these innovation hubs, but don't know what to do with them. And the question is, how do we align our synergies so that we all, speak to this developmental state in a way that builds up on each other's efforts? Not that we compete with one another, but we put our resources in one basket and build up to where we want to go to. I want to come back to my Department of Industrial Engineering. And the reason why I'm coming back to this department is that when I joined the department in 2011, it was a very small department. It was actually one of the smallest departments in the faculty. So this is like almost 10 years later. We are still a small department, but the university has acknowledged that we're a department to be reckoned with. And one of the main reasons is because of this industrial relationship. Because when the industry comes into the picture, within even a departments are functioning. I don't know for the mining and metallurgical department here at the University of Zimbabwe what has transpired there, but from my department, even right now, when the speech is given at the graduations, my department is spoken about, But people are like, well, which department is this one? We've got one of the fewest staff members complement in the university, but because of the industrial relationship that comes into play, even the activity that are happening in the department are informed by real challenges, and that allows us to harness some funding from the industrial partner to utilize on purchasing technologies that speak to their problems. And this way also it enhances our teaching of our graduates. So you will see from the graphs that I will demonstrate the growth that has taken place in the department. So next year we're organizing this conference. I'm saying to the industrial partners, you must come and listen to us at this conference, especially those who are from a manufacturing production perspectives. SEP is the leading production engineering community globally, and for the first time in the history of this specific conference, it's going to be coming to Africa, and it's just across the river. If you submit a paper or you want to come and do an industrial talk, you're welcome to get in touch with me. So this is what I was talking about earlier on, that if you look at our statistics from 2013, there's a nice smooth, growth curve, and I can fully relate this to our collaboration and our cooperation with industrial partners. So this is masters and doctoral students. It's not the undergraduate students. I'm not showing those curves. And then in terms of publications as well, somebody was saying that for the industry, it's publish and perish. And then for academia, it's publish or perish. Don't publish and perish. But I think that's not quite true, because right now we've got a publication that we are doing with one of my doctorate students. And the first thing that we said, let's protect the intellectual property. So we go to our intellectual property office and we engage them to help us with the protection. But the publication will go ahead. It's not going to stop because we're going to publish somewhere. But the protection will happen so that when he does publish, the protection has taken place. But then it also means that the university, I think it's a good thing that earlier on it was mentioned that a research directorate is being set up, because then that directorate takes care of that balance between protecting the IP and exploiting it. Because the other partner maybe is worried that if we go and publish, then we will lose it. But if it's protected by the university, then in any court globally, you'll be able to defend your ideas. But also, the fact of the matter is that education is not cheap. You know, when I went to university, we had the grant system, which quickly fell apart before we finished our studies, and things got very difficult. I always say to my students back at the Department of Industrial Engineering, we had a code for our meals which was called 001. I think Lois can identify with that code. That, you know, you don't eat breakfast, you don't eat lunch. I know Prof. Moa is a foreign language to that trip, because at that time people were still urinating in the fridges at the UZ there. But in our time, when we came in, it was that 001 code. So you have 1 meal a day, and that's all the food that you can have. So educating people is not cheap. It comes with a cost. And you know about the fees must fall strikes that were taking place. I think Prof. Mbo was also caught up in the midst of them. It's a reality that there are so many disadvantaged people that to a point where they realize that if we don't fight for these things, we may end up not being educated. But somebody must still pay the cost. And unfortunately, sometimes as academics, we still think we still think of the 1978 when the first graduates came out of the University of Zimbabwe. That's what you were saying, right? That in 1978, before some of us were born, that's when the first graduates came out. People still relate to the current environmental conditions that our universities find themselves existing in the same way that they related to in 1978. It's not going to work. So I was the head of department. I said to the guys, yes, I'm the head of department. That's great. But if I'm going to continue just managing this teaching and learning activity, it's going to be at the expense of our future sustainability as a department. So maybe I must change my focus, not focus on students, not because I'm not interested in the academic project, but because I'm very interested in it and in its survival, but I must use other approaches in what I do.